All right. And here we go. Day 4, Darrell Brooks trial. Tuesdays are rough, so I'm a little bit late. Uh, we're getting started this morning. Last thing that happened yesterday was uh, Brooks tried to bring up jurisdiction. Uh, he mentioned 2 cases at lunchtime, and the judge said, "All right, we'll discuss it first thing this morning." So even though we're a little bit behind, I'm not going to start. Uh, uh, we're, we're we're starting from the beginning, basically, because we're here for the sovereign citizenry. So we'll do the sovereign citizenry, um, and we're 7 or 8 minutes behind the live stream, but we'll catch up with that in the breaks. So with that, here we go. I've got a fuzz in my headphones. I hope it's just my headphones and that it's not coming through on the broadcast. And it looks like Law and Crime got started before court, so we're just watching Brooks read the case, probably for the first time, because I guarantee the cases don't say what he thinks they say. Good morning, Steve. Let's, I guess, fast forward a little bit. Until, there's the prosecution entering. So fast forward a little more. Okay, there's Judge Darrow. So
Court will call State of Wisconsin versus Darrell E. Brooks, case number 21 CF 1848. May I have the appearances, please?
calling the case is a good place to start.
Leslie Basie and Zach Witchow appearing for the state of Wisconsin.
Good morning, sir. Please state your name for the record.
Morning, Edward.
I'm here as a third-party intervener.
Welcome to the stream. Enjoy your breakfast.
Appearing as authorized representative for my client. I accept for value in return for value all of the charging instruments in this matter and make my exemption available.
He's got the sovereign citizen script this morning.
Connected with this case. I do not dispute any of the facts in these charging instruments, and I do not consent to or agree to being called that name.
All right, the record should reflect that the individual known to this court as Darrell Brooks is appearing in person in custody. He is also in civilian or street clothing.
I agree, Steve. French toast over pancakes or waffles
Brooks,
any day.
Today you're also not wearing headsets. I just want to make a record.
I had a cinnamon muffin.
They were offered to you, even charged. The different charging unit was provided. I did not see you wearing the headset at any point in time. And from my perspective, given your either legal arguments made, comments to the court, or questioning of witnesses that you were able to hear. But I just feel it important, given that you raised that issue, to put
my tier is French toast, waffles,
pancakes. I do want to address the case law that was filed by Mr. Brooks. I have a question, sir.
It was Lopez and a funny name, a four-letter like Elmo or
Lopez. I had looked up a case. I don't know if it's the one that you were referring to. I asked you if it was from 1995. You thought it was. Have you been able to look through your documents to tell me which United States versus Lopez you were referring?
I have not, but I also
well, how are you going to argue it if you don't know the citation?
415 US 533, or I think you may have.
I was able to find Higgins versus Levine, and Malo versus United States.
Ah, that's right.
I
Mello.
also found
I've never heard of
a
Higgins.
case that is captioned United States versus Lopez at 514.
I guarantee the
US
court finds jurisdiction.
549. That's a case
100%.
It was decided in 1995. It had to do with in part, with the,
Jurisdiction.
no, it had to do with a provision in the federal statutes regarding.
I
the
guess
gun
it's a good thing I
safe
avoided the
free
Navy
zone and
then.
whether that was constitutional or not. It was a criminal case.
And
but
good morning, D-Pat.
nonetheless, that was one of the major issues in that case. So I don't know if that's the case you were referring or not. And without a citation, it's hard for me to know. So that's why I'm asking you if you have any other information about that case.
I mean, it's his job to
I
provide
can
citations
possibly
to what
look
he's
on
arguing.
break, but my
No,
understanding
you were supposed to
of
come
that
prepared. You knew you were arguing
particular
at first
case
thing.
was
This is your
dealing with the
frivolous
specifics
motion,
of subject matter and personal jurisdiction,
which
which
the
is
court
why
has.
it was brought up for the record, which is something that I have been doing adamantly.
And the court has already
asking for
ruled
the
that
court
it
to
has
provide
jurisdiction. The court doesn't have to
verified
provide
proof
anything.
of jurisdiction, which I have not been provided.
What
with
is
yet.
verified proof of
The court's not
jurisdiction?
required to do that, sir. I understand what your objection is. It's been noted for the record multiple times. And the previous rulings of the court stand. I see no reason.
I'd say at
to
least it
revisit
provides
those issues,
entertainment
or what
for
we
us,
call legally,
except the way he's
a motion for
abusing
reconsideration.
victims.
Even if I were to take your reference to these cases as a request to reconsider
That
based
takes
on,
away from the entertainment value.
a new legal argument, the cases that I reviewed don't support that. I do want to give the state an opportunity to at least make a record as to their position, and then I'll give you the last word if you want to make a legal argument to the contrary.
I do.
All right, so
Of
go
course
ahead.
he does.
I believe Attorney Basie, you were going to do that.
I was. Your Honor, I did review the U.S. versus Lopez, the Lopez case that you cited at 514 U.S. 549. As the court already indicated, it deals with the Gun-Free School Zone Act, which is a federal offense.
I'd hope so,
The
Steve.
court found
but
that Congress
What's going to happen is
exceeded,
they're going to say,
its
well,
authority
that
under the
case
Commerce
had
Clause, and
victims,
therefore
it's
there was no
different from our
jurisdiction. I
traffic
don't find
cases.
any analogy between that case and this case. Again, I'm not sure if that is the Lopez case that the defendant was referring to. With regard to Malo versus United States, this was a case involving an accident that the plaintiff had with an employee of the U.S. Postal Service who was driving a U.S. postal truck, and the issue became whether or not there was a valid claim against the U.S. Postal Service as a result of a claim filed against the employee, and the court held that there was not, and therefore jurisdiction was not conferred to the United States. Again, not a case that is on
But that
point
would mean
with any issue
jurisdictions
that's
in
been
the
raised in this
state
case.
court.
And finally, Hagen
that
versus
case.
Levine at 415 U.S. 533. Again, this is one in which the district court was found to have had jurisdiction to hear the plaintiff's claim. It was a case in which in New York,
I mean,
state
what
of
happens
New
is
York,
if they find there's no
regulation addressed
jurisdiction,
New
they just
York's
immediately
ability
file
to
it in the
recoup
court
some
that
payments
does have
from the
jurisdiction.
FTC, I believe.
Because there's definitely a
And,
court that's
there
going
was
to
a
have
claim that
jurisdiction.
that violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The court did find that the district court did have jurisdiction to hear the plaintiff's claim. Again, I did not find any verbiage from any of these three cases that would raise any type of argument in this case that this court does not have jurisdiction to hear this case.
Thank you, Mr.
Good
Brooks.
argument.
Your response.
Yeah, I respectfully object to that. It's clear in both of those cases.
Yeah, Steve,
that
he read the wrong script.
ultimately those cases were called correct by the Supreme Court in that both
Oh,
cases
it's
ended up being
it's nice of
voided
you to
because there was no
agree with
jurisdiction.
the Supreme Court, you
Um,
know, that they weren't quite sure
Same thing in this
how
case,
well they had
how
decided it, but
it
you say it's
applies is
correct.
this court has yet to prove
The court doesn't have to
that
prove
it has
anything.
jurisdiction. It has not been proven. There's been no certified document paperwork.
Exactly, Steve.
There's been no proof. There's been no response to the demand for the statement of particulars.
The
There's
court
been
doesn't have to
no
provide you with
response
anything. They do not owe
to.
you a response. You have to prove there is no jurisdiction.
I mean, we haven't even established that the plaintiff is a living human being and not an entity.
Seriously?
Um,
You don't
there's so
have
many
to
things that
establish
have yet
that.
to even be proven. And again,
Nothing will ever
if
prove
both
it to
cases
your
that were just
satisfaction
cited
anyways.
were voided by the Supreme Court
No.
for lack of jurisdiction, how is this case any different?
And that was federal jurisdiction, meaning
Here's
there
the
wasn't a
evidence, sir.
hook to
First of
bring
all,
it into
the
federal
Hagens and
court.
the
So it was
Melo
in
decisions,
state
or
court.
Melo, these were civil lawsuits. They weren't criminal cases at all. They dealt with
And there
the
needs to
issue
be a
of,
jurisdictional hook.
a federal
Either
question or
diversity
federal claims
jurisdiction or
and
federal question,
jurisdiction in the
constitutional.
district court for those particular
It just
cases.
means it was a state law
There's
case.
nothing that's applicable to a criminal case in state court for this court to even find they're relevant. They may be case law, maybe law as it relates to that, but they're not relevant to the proceedings in this case. In the Melo decision, for example, that had to do with a lack of jurisdiction because the plaintiff had failed to exhaust administrative remedies. That's not something that's applicable here. And so in that case, the
In
court
some
did not
cases,
have jurisdiction. In the Hagens case, again,
you
it
have
had
to go
do
to
with a
arbitration
federal claim
first or
and
some sort of
jurisdiction
mediation.
related to that, and not criminal charges brought
Like
by a state.
Employment law cases, you
against
frequently have to
a
go before the
individual.
employment board
The
before you
Lopez
can sue.
decision, while a criminal case, dealt with a federal law and whether the district court had jurisdiction. In Lopez, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a federal statute that had made an offense criminal, and because of that, there was no
This was
jurisdiction.
the-
There have been no similar
I believe
arguments
Lopez
made
was
in this
the
case
gun-free
at
school
all. The
zones.
arguments that you raise related
And
to the bill of
The
particulars,
Supreme
related
Court,
to
if I remember
um,
back to law school,
those
ruled
types
this
of
was a state
issues,
law
have all
issue.
been debunked throughout the ages in the courts of
It
the
was
United
decided
States of
on the
America,
10th
both in
Amendment.
state court and in federal court. And I direct your attention once again to United States versus Beneby, 654 F 3rd 753. It's a 2011 decision from the Seventh Circuit that is very on point as to the arguments that you are raising. So there's no requirement for this court to do what you are asking.
It's almost
or
like they're
demanding
trying
it
to
do.
avoid
and for
frivolous
All of those
litigation
reasons,
by
this court
cutting
will
it off
deny
at the
your
earliest
request to
possible
dismiss,
level.
deny your request for the demand for particulars.
Good
even
job,
going back
Judge.
to one of the filings
It was an
from
easy
the
decision.
3rd, dealing with your demand for a verified statement, your notice of special appearance. I mean, all of those things have been noted on the record, but to the extent that the court needs to respond to any of those, once again, your demands and requests and objections are either overruled or denied, as the case may be.
And the appeals court is
Your
going
Honor,
to
may I
laugh
respectfully
and laugh
request
and
a
laugh
legal
when he appeals on those
reconsideration for your
grounds.
ruling.
No, I just went through my reasoning, sir. So without.
But what are the
even being standard
grounds?
Under a motion for reconsideration under section 806.07, that request is summarily denied.
What's
without
today's
further
word of the
argument.
day going to be?
All right,
For
with
the record,
that,
For the record, may I request a legal or factual basis for your
She
ruling?
gave
As you
it.
Just cited.
She
Your Honor.
just gave it.
I just provided the legal basis, sir.
You just cited a case law from United States versus Beneby, correct?
Yeah, that's her legal
My reasoning
basis.
stands, the record before you and on the record speaks for itself. I'm not going to address.
She'll
this
never
any further.
convince
Your
him, so
objections are
don't
noted.
even try.
Respectfully, Your Honor,
Saying
may I ask for a
respectfully doesn't
written
make it
judicial
respectful.
finding of facts and conclusion of law in this matter.
She already did.
You may request that. Request is denied.
For the record, may I respectfully move for an interlocutory declaratory appeal on this matter, Your Honor?
That is not an issue this court would address. That would be for an
You
appellate
take
court,
it to
sir.
the appeals
For the
court.
record, may I
She-
move to stay these proceedings until this instant matter is adjudicated? by a
No,
court of
because there's a
competent
low
jurisdiction?
probability of success, as
That
in
request is
0.
denied. This is a court of competent jurisdiction.
Based
and
on
we'll
what?
proceed.
Based on what law or fact, Your Honor?
She already gave it.
All right, Mr. Brooks, your objections are
You-
noted. I want to keep moving forward.
He'll never be
today.
convinced.
Respectfully,
If the Supreme
may I
Court
respectfully
ruled,
object to that,
he
Your Honor,
would
based
not
on
agree.
The fact that you cited something that was a federal law, and then the cases that you
the
went
cases you
over
brought were
in the charge
federal.
of jurisdiction were all dealing with federal guidelines.
This court's not going to explain the
How
law
is it that
to you,
he
sir.
brings
I
federal
cited
case
the
law, but her federal case
but
law
I just
doesn't
direct you to
count?
those decisions. I believe they speak for themselves, and your request for any further articulation by this court as to the basis for the court's decision is denied.
May I
No.
respectfully object, Your Honor, and
I mean, you can
Still, I
object all you
for
want. It
verified
won't do any
proof.
good.
of
Mr. Brooks, I've already addressed that. The request
I
is
don't even
denied.
know what verified proof of claim is. That
All right, moving on, can the
That's
state?
not a
moving on, Mr.
thing.
Brooks. Thank you. Your objections are noted. Attorney Opera, I'd like to address the
respectfully
issue.
object, Your Honor.
okay, you're going to be
Objections
removed
noted.
from the courtroom if you
I would
keep
like to address
interrupting.
the issue of the subpoenas that were turned over to the state. If you could just make a record on that.
Yes, thank you. We have received the subpoenas that were provided by Mr. Brooks, I believe. there
Remember,
were 12 in total.
the state is
We
helping
are
him serve his
endeavoring to have,
subpoenas.
all the individuals properly served, and we will assist in arranging their appearance here in the courtroom at the appropriate time, with the exception of that one individual who.
Those 6 people
believe has
can't, but we
relocated to the
are
state of
hearing from
Texas.
victims, and
There
it's just
are no other
heartbreaking.
concerns that the state has at this point in getting those subpoenas served and getting these people here. I do want to advise the court that one of the witnesses on Mr. Brooks' subpoena list does need a Spanish interpreter. And that also reminds me to update the court on our progress in that regard. For the state's case, we believe if we would need a Spanish interpreter, and it's still unknown to us, or uncertain, I should say, it'd be later tomorrow morning, like probably after the morning break or even after lunch. We could call these witnesses out of order if we had to. So if you want to just say possibly 1 p.m. tomorrow, we could certainly work around that. And then when we get to Mr. Brooks' case, one of his witnesses will need an interpreter as well. We'll try and help the court keep track of that as well.
Have you been in contact with the individual at the clerk's office that assists with making arrangements for the interpreter, since it is the court's responsibility to do that, but it's your request?
I know my assistant had.
This is the
spoken
second
to
time
someone in the clerk's
that
office.
I've heard them
I
discuss
think it was last week. I don't know
interpreters.
if there's been any recent contact, but I will ask her to do that today.
Well, I know I saw one of our interpreters yesterday, and I don't know if that's because of those arrangements or not. And I
The
don't
audio's
see
not as
that
good this
person
morning
here
as it
today,
typically
but-
has been.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw him also. I think he just came in to observe for a while.
Okay. Can you tell me the name of the witness for Mr. Brooks that needs an interpreter?
Juan Marquez, Marquez.
And this, can you just give me a little bit more background? What I'm contemplating is, because I need to make arrangements for the interpreter, is perhaps we could have that person brought the same time the other witness needs an interpreter, and do those witnesses, depending on how long they take, it may or may not be back to back, but maybe there'd be a witness in between.
That would be
just for
awkward,
court
having a
efficiency
prosecution
and, to
witness
make sure we
and
have
then
an
a
interpreter
defense
available.
witness before
Yes, I
the
understand,
defense
and we could potentially
starts
call him
their
out of
case in
order.
chief.
He is in the group with the same group
Especially
that we would
since
need Spanish
Brooks
interpreters
hasn't
for. That
given
would be
his
the
opening
Catholic
statement
community
yet.
of Waukesha. So we're
So he
projecting to
hasn't
get to that testimony.
given a roadmap
tomorrow
of what
morning
his
for our
defense
case.
is.
As we sit here right now, Judge, we don't think we're going to need an interpreter, but we want to
It's better to
reserve
be
that
safe
right
than sorry.
should the need arise. And Mr. Marquez was on our witness list. However, we had made a preliminary decision that we would not be calling him as a witness. So he's generally familiar with
My cousin's
court
wife used
proceedings,
to
and he knows
do
he may be
interpreting
called
in
to
court here in
testify.
Utah.
So it would be tomorrow morning, and yes,
She's from
maybe we just wanna
Bosnia,
say
and we
1
have a
o'clock tomorrow
large
afternoon, the
Bosnian
interpreter's here
population.
for whatever witness
So
needs
she was
them,
a
and we call
Bosnian
Mr.
interpreter in
Marquez out of
court.
order. It wouldn't be a great switch for the jury, because we'll already have been dealing with those facts tomorrow morning.
When do you think you'll know whether you will need an interpreter? Is that for a witness or for someone in attendance?
Yeah, no, it's after our first 2 witnesses as it relates to the Catholic community. We believe we can establish all the elements we need through those witnesses. But if for some reason we could not, then we would have to call some of the Spanish-speaking people. We would be prepared to go on with other witnesses, and then we may have to circle
He ran
back
through
if need be, but we understand we want to
there
be
was a
efficient and we don't
Catholic
want to have
community
downtime in the
group
court, so.
marching in the
All right,
parade, and
thank
he
you.
ran
I'm
through them.
contemplating, Mr. Brooks, that since the witness you want is part of that group, and there's a possibility that they will need an interpreter, if that's the situation, then I'm going to require that Mr. Marquez be produced at that point for questioning. You'll be questioning him first, since it would be your witness, but I want to make wise use of our resource as it relates to the interpreter. It can be challenging to schedule interpreters, especially on a last minute basis. I know the clerk's office has been working with the DA's office based upon the request that was received. The latest information I have, before I get back to you, Mr. Brooks, is that
I
Kevin
find it
from the
kind of
clerk's office
awkward, but it does
has made
make
a call, but
sense
was
to
not
do it
returned.
this way.
So perhaps you can have your assistant, that was last week, follow up just to make sure we're all on the same page.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Brooks, any questions about what I've advised you about the interpreter? Does that change your decision at all to call the witness?
It doesn't change me wanting to call the witness, and I want to state for the record that I object to being called that name. I'm a living and breathing human being. I do have questions though.
I
You're
wonder
well
what
aware
the
that
jury's thinking every time
once we went off
he
the record
objects
yesterday, I
to
stayed to
that
complete
name.
all of the subpoenas.
I'm aware of that.
There were initially 13, and I believe I turned in 12 because the prosecution stated that maybe one of them had relocated, but there was just a little bit more clarification that I didn't have yesterday about that whole situation, if they relocated or how that
If they're in
would play
Texas, the
into
court
them
can't
being
compel
subpoenaed.
them to
Um,
travel to
so
Wisconsin.
Is there a question as it relates to that, or just you're
Well,
making that record?
I'm making that record, and also I wasn't sure yesterday, and maybe I should have asked before we went off the record. Should I have just turned in all 13 subpoenas that I had and then just wait to see what more information could have been learned from that?
You can certainly give them the 13th subpoena, and we can make a further record later if need be. And we'll go from there. I mean, obviously, as officers of the court, they're telling me that they have this information about a witness being out of state. There's a different procedure for obtaining a witness that is from out of state, including that the person calling that witness needs to make the travel arrangements, and that's in the rules of procedure. So
And it'll take a long time to pay for a
but it's
plane
up to you
ticket
if
on
you want
12
to turn
cents
that
an
one
hour.
over, so that it's officially one that you turned over, given that you had been given that information and then the subpoenas needed to be refilled or filled out again.
I don't know.
I'm certainly willing to have that turned
I
over to
wouldn't
them
be
and at a
surprised
later
if
point, further record
it
can be made if
happens.
needed.
I would be amused if
in
he
the
showed
event
up
that
in a
that
fez.
takes place, would it be the same procedure, me having to stay after, or how would it work from that point? Because I would essentially say it would make more sense to just
These are
fill them
things
out
that you
all
should
together
ask
and
your
file them together,
lawyer.
so everything is just together.
Oh,
It makes
You
it
just need to
easier.
fill out the
Wait.
one.
Just the one.
Yes. Do you need another form?
I have another form.
All right. Do you have a copy of the first time you filled it out? So you have some of that information readily at your fingertips?
I believe I do. I don't want to say I'm 100% sure. I would have to do some minimal looking through all the
If
paperwork.
not, I have the first batch of subpoenas on my table in my chambers and I can bring that out.
I'm pretty sure if it's not in the paperwork that's in front of me, it's in one of these boxes, which, as you see, is a lot of paperwork. I'm positive that it's there. I would just have to.
Well, let me know when I break. Like I said, I have it readily available.
sounds
and
like
certainly
you
can
should have
give it
come
back to you to look
prepared.
at. All right. What about did you hear me advise you about the interpreter and making arrangements and potentially calling your witness out of order because of that?
He objects.
Yeah, I think that was pretty clear.
Okay, good. Just want you to be prepared for the possibility that tomorrow you may need to call that witness. The witness will be made available and you may need to question that witness tomorrow. So I just want you to be prepared for that.
So that should be the first witness called.
It would be out of order. It would still be during the state's case in chief, but if we have the
I
interpreter
kind of like it
here,
because it could give us a
because
hint
they
as
need
to
it, because they're not
what
clear yet
his
if they need that
direct
interpreter or not. If
examination
they
style
use the
will be.
interpreter and the interpreter's here, and then I'm going to also ask that they make arrangements to have Mr. Marquez available so that the interpreter, we can wisely use the interpreter resource and call those individuals, if not back to back, within short order of one another. Sometimes we have to give the interpreter a break and a rest. So that's why it might not be back to back, but in any event, you should be prepared potentially to question that witness. If they don't call the
Has she
interpreter
been
and
telling the
interpreter's
jury
not
to
here
arrive
and
at 8?
we haven't made arrangements,
Because
then
she's
I'm
been
gonna
calling
work
the
with my
case at
staff and the
8:30.
clerk's office to make sure we have an interpreter during your case. You'll just need to tell me where in the 12 you want to call that person so I can better schedule.
In the 13.
I've only been paying
Well, you
attention
have
to
13,
when I
but
need
one's
to
an
show up.
out-of-state, so I'm told, but all right. Very good. All right, anything else from the state then?
No, that was it for today, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Brooks, anything other than what we've already talked about?
Yeah. I don't know if the clerk received 2 ICF forms that I submitted.
RCF.
I don't know if anything, I can check my electronic inbox. Let me just do that real quick and see if there's anything there.
Well, one
What's
of
the guess? The
ICFs we just
RCFs are
addressed,
sovereign
would be the
citizen
one that-
nonsense.
I filled out last night, coming back from the proceedings yesterday. We just addressed that. That was dealing with the subpoenas.
Okay. All right, I don't see it. I'll make sure that my staff knows to look for it, and when we get it, it'll be uploaded.
RCF might be
and then we can
Wisconsin's
address it
version of
at a break.
electronic
The other one was
filing.
dealing with asking for my court docket sheet.
What do you mean by that, sir?
I would like a certified copy of the.
You're not going to
my
get a
court
certified
docket
copy.
I need to know what you mean by that, sir. There's many documents in the record. There are docket entries that are part of the electronic file.
Is the entire every court proceeding, is that part of the electronic?
Every
what
court
did you just-
proceeding.
Recording of the proceedings
No,
or
no, no.
record?
I
Like-
want the actual docket sheet from every court proceeding that I've had
That-
in dealing with this matter.
Well, you'll have to address that to the clerk of court.
I did. I
Okay,
sent
so
the
then
IC
that's why it didn't come to me and I wouldn't seen it. I'm not the custodian of the record. It's the clerk of court under the statute. So
Was it received?
I don't know.
It's not
but
her
I can find out.
job to know this
and
thing.
on a break, we can advise. I'll direct Teresa to find out from the clerk of court if she received that. But she'll respond in due course.
It was addressed to Miss Monica Paz.
Okay, that's our clerk of court, so that's good that you did that. All right, anything else then? Other than what we've already talked about?
Nope. No.
Okay, very well. State will have its next witness then when we bring the jury out. Okay, very well. Madam Clerk, please have the jury brought out.
All right. Jury coming. That I'm guessing if we're 6-ish minutes behind, so bringing out the jury at 9:15. So one way or another, Steve, they were waiting in the jury room. Hopefully they had bagels and muffins or something in there and coffee so that they can come into court on a full stomach and caffeinated enough to stay awake. The one time I served, well, was called in for jury duty. No jury was seated because it settled right before. I think it was a domestic violence case, and he pled guilty as we were waiting in the hall. But we didn't have muffins. I do find it interesting, just commenting on the broadcast production, like with the jury being called, they muted it now, but most times it's not been muted unless court's gone into recess or they've called a break or something. So to me, it's just interesting the little inconsistencies that they have. And he is in a ill-fitted suit again today. He is actually standing for the jury, so in that regard, his behavior is better than it was last week. Of course, it was a very low bar he set last week, so
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated and good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
this was before I went to law school, Steve. Now I'd be interested to sit on a jury.
All right, the state may call its next witness.
And generally, they
State
would
calls Kelly
still
Grabo.
call me in unless I
Good morning.
were
Ms.
intimately
Bravo.
familiar
Can you
with the
please
case
make your
or
way to the witness
the
stand?
lawyers.
When you get there, please remain standing and raise your right hand, and there is a step up when you get there.
And this is a brand new witness. I don't know who
Teresa,
she is. I'm
Do you solemnly
assuming.
swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing
Well,
but
I
the
have
truth,
no
so help you
assumptions.
God? Yes, I do. Thank you. Please be seated.
Her yes, I
First
do
thing
was
I will have you
timid.
do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
My first name is Kelly, Kelly. Last name Grabo,
She,
Grabow.
she definitely looks
Thank you.
nervous.
Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Ms. Grabo, what do you do for a living?
I work at Burst Logistics as an inventory control specialist.
How long have you worked at Burris Logistics?
I had just started last year in September. It's their first year here.
Is testifying in court something that you do frequently with Burris Logistics?
No,
Are you a little bit nervous today?
yes,
Very nervous.
I want to ask you about Sunday afternoon, November 21st of 2021, okay?
Okay.
Did you take part in the Waukesha Christmas parade that day?
yes.
Were you a spectator or a participant? Why were you there?
I was walking with Burst Logistics, my daughter and I.
What's your daughter's name
Adelia
and her last name?
Maffioli.
How long is Adelia? Excuse me. How old is Adelia?
She's 10 now. She was 9 at the time.
She was walking with you with Burris Logistics?
Yes.
Do you remember?
Hold on, could you please spell her name for us, please?
Adelia. Last name is Maffioli. Maffioli.
Thank you so much.
That is a name that would be hard for the court reporter to guess.
Do you remember where your group was positioned in the parade in terms of who was behind you and who was in front of you?
Yes, we were directly between the Waukesha Blazers and Waukesha South Marching Band.
Okay, so which
We
of
heard
those two
from the
were
band
behind you?
director
Waukesha
yesterday.
South Band was behind us.
The Blazers are the baseball team.
What were you wearing that day?
Well, my daughter was dressed up as Cindy Lou Who, and I was wearing my elf dress with candy cane.
We did see a Grinch float, so I'm assuming that's associated with
parade
the Cindy Lou
Go
Who.
smoothly?
No,
Why not?
we were struck by a vehicle.
Can you describe how that happened for us?
While we're walking through,
She's so nervous.
my daughter came
I
walking
feel
over
so
by
bad
me,
for her.
and she went to go get more candy to go hand out to the kids. So she walked over, grabbed candy, and as she was walking off to the side, I noticed there was a difference in the sound behind us than what I was hearing throughout. So right as she walked off to the side and I seen she walked to the side, I turned. I don't know if I turned fully or just my head.
Remember, he drove up
And as I
behind
turned,
the
all I seen
parade.
was the hood of
They
a
were all
red vehicle,
blindsided.
and I hit the red vehicle and rolled down to the side and landed directly between the Burris Logistics float and the red vehicle, and I seen the tire go directly in front of my face.
Oh my God.
So the Burris Logistics float that you just described, what was that?
There was a black truck pulling it. We had I believe there was a snowman in the back of the black truck, and then we had the Grinch in the float.
Which side of the truck were you on when you were struck?
Of the Burris, or
Burris truck.
I was on the driver's side of the Burris.
Where was Adelia?
Adelia, when she grabbed the candy and walked off to the side, I thought she was over by the sidewalk when I spun to look.
And what did you see when you spun?
The red hood of the vehicle.
When did you next see Adelia?
After I realized what just happened,
Exactly,
I jumped
Steve.
up and
Like
took
I've
off
said,
running,
this is all
to go find her.
re-traumatizing,
and I seen her in the middle of the road,
which is a
I
big
don't know
reason
how she
they
got to
only
that
want
position
one trial.
from where I seen her last, but she was lying in the middle of the road, and there were some people around her trying to help her. Her shoes were down the road as well as her glasses.
I mean, you
Your Honor,
know,
Exhibit
due
22 has
process,
previously been received
he
and
is
published. I'd ask
entitled to his day in
publish that
court.
again for this witness.
It's the way he abuses them that infuriates me.
I'm sorry, maybe I wasn't clear. The jury as well. Yep, there we go. Okay, do you see the screen in front of you?
Did he
Yes,
say
it's a
exhibit
float.
1?
All right. We are going to play with
Or,
audio
oh, no, it's a video.
at normal speed from the beginning until about the 26-second mark.
I'm assuming this one's already in evidence, since he didn't really lay a foundation for it. Yeah, we've heard this one before. I remember that. Oh my God.
We paused at 27 seconds. Ms. Grabo, did you see yourself in that video?
Yes, I did.
What about Adelia? Did you see her?
With the amount of people, I did not directly see her.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning and turn the audio off.
And play at half speed.
And let's go at about 50% speed.
Video to us.
It doesn't lose relevance.
It's relevant.
Grounds.
It's relevant. The judge doesn't have to
We'll
give
click
you
and begin.
grounds. He's getting more aggressive
let's
in
pause
his
right there.
buffoonery.
At 3 seconds. Do you see yourself at this 3-second mark?
Yes, I do.
Just tell us where you are in the screen.
We're directly in front of the
Use the touch
Waukesha
screen.
band banner. Adelia is wearing a red cape shawl with checkered, black and white checkered leggings. It was really cold and windy that day. And then I have the candy cane dress on with my jacket and a hat and candy cane leggings.
And what does it appear
So they're front and
at
center
this
in this
moment that you're
photo.
doing with Adelia?
Giving her more candy.
Or I guess this still of the
Let's
video.
resume.
And they cut away. So we only saw the still. We're not seeing the video. Which I'm more than okay with. Her lips trembling. This is so hard for
Pause.
her.
We paused at the 19-second mark. Do you see yourself in the video at this point?
Yes, I'm lying directly between both of the vehicles.
The screen in front of you is a touch screen. Would you mind circling yourself? Your Honor, I'd ask to to save the screen of 22 and mark it as 22. I think we're on. Yeah. So then 22B, this would be marked as, and I'd move that into evidence.
The screen will be captured with the annotation. It will be marked as 22B. It will be received.
Objection.
Let's resume at that point.
I thought for sure he'd object. Or at least bark grounds.
Pause. And we've paused at 24, and we can take that screen down now. What did we see you doing at the end of the video there?
I was lying between the vehicles.
Did you get up at some point?
Yes,
Okay. And then
ran directly to my daughter.
what injuries, if any, did you sustain as a result of being struck by that SUV?
I think there's ligament damage in my knee as well as my hand. I did have some bruising and some road rash on my knees.
The father, Tom Green, who
Were you treated at a
testified
medical
yesterday,
facility
his
Oh,
son
Washington
had
Hospital.
both knees
the night of the incident?
with
It
ligament damage
was
or nerve
way
damage.
later. I went in because I rode in the ambulance with my daughter. I refused to go anywhere else besides stay with her the entire time. So I stayed with her. We rode 2 children's in the ambulance. They did check me in the ambulance and see that I was stable and okay to do what I was doing. So I stayed with my daughter at Children's Hospital, and I did not want to leave her until I knew she was at home in bed safe.
So her daughter was
What
struck.
injuries, if any, did Adelia sustain?
Massive bruising all up and down her back. She had a broken hand, road rash all on her face.
She's struggling. This is hard.
All the questions I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do you have any cross for this witness?
Yes. Before you were struck by the vehicle, you said that you heard changes in sound to the parade. That was the people marching in the parade.
Yeah,
back of you, right?
it went
Yes.
from music to screaming.
Do you recall what the sounds were that you heard?
But he's probably going for, did you hear
It was
horns
just a change
honking?
in the tone behind me. It wasn't the Jubilee sound that we were hearing throughout the parade. You could tell something was happening behind us.
Did it seem to get louder?
Yeah,
Was it already pretty noisy with the parade going on?
It was, yeah, it was noisy.
And you stated that it was really windy and cold that evening.
Yes, very.
Would it be any reason why you wouldn't be able to hear everything going on behind you?
Not,
The
I wouldn't say I wouldn't be able to hear everything behind us because I heard the change in the
I mean, the
sound
brain
of the
only
band.
has so
So
much processing
obviously I
power.
could hear
You miss
what was
out.
going on directly behind me.
You don't process every sound in a noisy environment.
The vehicle that struck you, do you recall seeing a driver?
No, I seen the red hood of the vehicle.
So
That's
you
all I
didn't-
seen.
She was on the ground next to
So
your,
you
with her
didn't
head
see
next to your
the driver or
tire.
anybody in the vehicle?
No, again, I just seen the red hood as it ran into me.
No license plates or
Nope.
She saw the tire.
you recall how fast the vehicle might have been traveling when you were struck?
It had to have been going a decent speed. As I said before, I did see the rear tire going past my face, and it all happened extremely fast.
So you don't recall.
With the chaos that was going around that day, no, I do not remember exactly.
She was looking for her daughter, not to identify you.
And you stated that after
But she
you were
did
struck,
identify your
you
car.
got up and ran to your daughter, correct?
Yes,
And you were able to do that with your leg injury?
yes.
Adrenaline's
I guess that
an
would be
amazing
the
thing.
adrenaline going through your body at that moment in time. It did give me the strength to run to my daughter.
You hear about the superhuman strength that
So
adrenaline
when
gives
was it
people.
that you knew that you had the,
When her
you said
daughter's
knee
in
injury?
trouble, she's
Yes,
superhuman.
knee and hand.
When did that pain in your leg set in?
It was immediately.
But you were still able to get up and run.
Yeah,
It's almost like there's something more important than the pain. Her daughter. But I doubt you know
Do you
anything
recall
about
how
that,
long before
in
you
spite
received
of
medical
having a
treatment?
15-year-old.
we were there for quite a while. I think we were one of the last ones to leave in the ambulance as I sat with my daughter at Children's Hospital.
As they
After
set
I
up
got
a
her home,
triage
where I knew she
area,
was safe
and
and
bruising
secure,
and
I
ligament
then
damage
my sister took me to Waukesha Memorial Hospital.
wasn't
at,
as bad
I
as
would
some of the
guesstimate that was
others,
probably around
like, say, the
2 in the
Sixstead.
morning, right around there, after I knew my daughter was safe.
So it's fair to say that you waited a little bit before you tended to yourself.
She
I
didn't
attended to my
wait.
daughter prior to myself to make sure my daughter was safe. Yes.
It's called triage. It's called
Do you
responsibility.
recall how long you were treated?
I'd probably say about 2 hours I was at the hospital.
They give you any pain medication or?
I was taking ibuprofen and Tylenol. That is it.
This is all this is just reminding the jury he hurt her badly and her daughter.
Do you
It's
recall what
not
time you
calling any
arrived at the
doubt
parade?
to her testimony.
Well, since we were walking with the parade, we had to be there early. We staged probably around 3, I would say. I think it was.
So about an hour and a half before. I think it started at 4:30.
And were you able to see what the vehicle did after you were struck?
It kept
No,
going.
my only attention at that point in time was to find my daughter and attend to my daughter.
So you didn't see what the route that the vehicle traveled or anything after that?
I seen
I'd use
the
stronger language
aftermath
than
after
that,
it went
Edward.
through. That was it.
Awful is too mild a word. And he's a sovereign citizen, so he objects to your use of the word person. He's a living, breathing human.
Do you recall how long you were marching in the parade before you were struck?
I do not recall how long we were there.
And I appreciate
Were
it.
you near any cross streets or intersections?
Even though this isn't a
I don't know the
family-friendly
name of the
subject
intersection, but
matter.
yes, there was, I know we're right by Bosco's. There's a little walkway that takes you down to the river, or there's a little tiny side street off to the side.
They would have
Do
been
you
really
recall if
close
they
to
were
the
barricaded?
bookstore.
I do not recall.
They
Do you recall
were.
if any law enforcement may have been standing by those intersections?
Do not recall.
It's almost like her focus was on the parade, not the logistics of crowd control and traffic control. She was handing out candy.
Do you recall any reports coming over any radios by law enforcement?
How would she have access to
do
the
not recall
radio?
that. The only thing I heard after we were hit was shots fired.
These questions are
So you did hear
asinine.
shots fired. Did that
I
come
don't
from?
know if it was directly from a cop or if it was people running.
She heard people say
Did
shots
you hear
fired.
the shots?
I did not.
Once again,
So after you were struck,
I think it was the police
that
sergeant that
louder than
testified
what
first, fired
was
3
before.
shots at his vehicle,
After,
but did
in the
not
middle
hit
of the
him.
complete chaos, yes.
And that was a proper use of force. Defense of human life is an absolutely
With all
authorized
the
use of force.
noise and chaos going on, do you think it would have been hard for you to hear a horn honking?
I did not hear a horn.
I still
Would it
don't
have been
see
hard? The
how
question
he
was, would it have
thinks
been hard for
honking
you to
his
hear
horn absolves him of
Before
guilt.
it got to us or after?
after it became chaotic?
I was not listening for a horn after we had already been hit by the vehicle.
So it'd be fair to say you wouldn't be able to recall.
I would not be able to
She
recall
said
that.
she didn't hear a horn.
Did you file any claim in this incident?
What do you mean by claim?
Exactly.
Did you file a report as an injured party in this matter?
Yes,
So it would be fair to say that you identify yourself as an injured party?
She was
Was
injured.
injured. By the
She's
circumstances
one of
that
your
day, yes.
victims. Sovereign citizens always say, "Show me the victim." She's a victim. Her daughter's a
Do you
victim.
recall the officer that you reported your claim with?
I do not recall.
He's just going to read random parts from her police report. Because that's what he does.
Have you seen or read a complaint in this matter?
What do you
She's
mean by
not a
that?
lawyer. She doesn't know
Have you seen a written
necessarily
complaint?
what the complaint is.
Or read a written complaint in this matter? Grounds.
Mr. Brooks, are you referring to the criminal complaint in this case or something else?
I'm referring to something else, the complaint.
Well,
Well, then I'll
That's
sustain
vague.
the objection. As to the form of the question, it's vague.
May I respectfully ask on what grounds you're
it's
on?
vague.
vague. Next question, or rephrase.
Do you know of any complaint being filed in this matter? Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds.
Vague.
That's the form of the question.
Were you aware that it may be possible that you could give testimony in this matter?
Yes, I was aware of that.
Nope, she just
Did you
showed up
give
to the
testimony
courthouse
in this matter?
randomly this morning and they said, "Oh, hey, you want to go
I
on the
was-
stand?"
Okay with doing so.
And who were you informed by?
The district attorney's office.
Are they
Was
the
that in form of a
plaintiffs?
subpoena, or was it a conversation? Or
Well, at first it was knowing that there was a possibility and then the subpoena.
so it'd be fair to say that you did have a conversation.
A
conversation.
conversation with who?
The district attorney's office.
Yes,
Did they ever inform you of who the plaintiff was in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Are you aware of any plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Grounds.
Relevant.
Sustained.
Did one of his jailhouse lawyers tell him to say grounds to everything, or
Have you ever talked to the plaintiff in this matter? Ever seen the
Objection.
plaintiff in this matter?
that compound?
Grounds.
Sustained under 90611. Mr. Brooks, you need to move on to a new topic or I will close the cross.
Good job,
I
Judge.
will move on. It has to be some type of ground stated other than relevance.
No,
here.
relevance is grounds,
Or
and that was a
anything like
compound
The real
question.
ground should be put on record, Your Honor. We all deserve to know. The jury deserves to know.
The jury doesn't.
It's not relevant.
It
Move
was
on.
an objection was sustained. The jury needs to disregard it. They don't need to know the reason. It has nothing to do with the
So are
jury.
you bringing this claim against the accused defendant in this matter?
Objection, vague.
Grounds.
Sustained.
On what grounds, Your Honor?
Vague.
It's vague. That's the form of the question.
Listen. Put your headphones on so you can hear.
Have you seek to receive any recovered damages or anything in the matter?
the only thing that
Because
we
you're
got
going to be
were-
able to
was
pay
help
for
to pay for our
lawsuits
medical
with your
bills.
12 cents an
as that
hour.
was something that was completely unexpected from a Christmas parade.
Is that through the state of Wisconsin?
It was through,
The parade probably
I
had
forgot the name of
liability
what it was.
insurance or something.
Are you listed as a plaintiff in this matter?
No, the state of Wisconsin is.
am I listed as a plaintiff in this
Are
matter?
you the plaintiff? Did you file the claim?
Objection,
That's a
relevance.
compound question, sustained as to the form of the question. Mr. Brooks?
Did you file a claim?
90611, move on. You've already asked about whether she filed a report. Which,
Shut
Move
him
on.
down. It's nice of him to give the prosecutors a little time to strategize. Not that they need it.
Do you see the state of Wisconsin president in court?
Stop. Shut him down.
Objection,
Grounds.
relevance.
Shut him
sustained
down.
under 90611. I warned you to avoid that topic or I would cease cross-exam. So I'll give you one more opportunity to ask a different line of questioning.
She's a lot nicer judge than I would be.
Do you recall when you gave your interview to law enforcement?
It was a few days after.
Oh, well, then it doesn't count.
Would it be fair to say it was a few days or a week or so?
I don't actually remember the exact time.
It doesn't count if she didn't do it
Do you
immediately
remember
after. By
being
Brooks'
interviewed
logic.
by Detective Jeffrey Adent?
I remember being interviewed. I don't remember what the officer's name was.
Do you remember where you were interviewed?
At my house.
Do you recall if it was on November 30 of 2020?
She doesn't remember the
I don't
date.
remember the exact date.
This is just a stupid line of questioning. He's pissing off the jury if he's pissing me off. It's a waste of time. Juries don't like their time
Can
being
you recall
wasted.
why it took a little bit for you to be interviewed by law
Because
enforcement?
there were hundreds of
I'm
people to
guessing-
interview.
Because of how many people.
She
were
doesn't
injured
know
throughout
police
this parade.
procedure.
It did take a while to get around to everybody.
Did you seek to be interviewed in any way?
I don't think I seeked, but I did inform them that I was injured, as
But
well
you-
as my daughter.
But you don't recall calling any law enforcement or attempting to file a report?
Law enforcement that was there at the parade took people's name, and it all ended up going to them.
Did you follow up in the days after?
I
Law
don't recall if I
enforcement
did.
did. They had her name. They knew where to go. They got to her. This doesn't help you. Stop.
Do you recall stating that you did not see what happened to your daughter?
I do
She
recall that.
saw your back tire. She was on the ground. With a lawyer, this should have been a
Do you
10-minute
recall being left a
cross-examination
business
tops.
card by Dr. Darrell L. Williams, PhD?
Yes, I do.
Would it be fair to say that
It would not be fair to
he was
say.
the one that told you what happened?
I still to this day don't know directly what happened to my daughter. I just know that she was hit by the red vehicle as I was laying on the ground after I was hit.
I'm sure her daughter also told her what happened to her.
So it'd be fair to say if you didn't see what actually happened to your daughter, you didn't see what happened to anyone else.
She was in the process
Right.
of being run
Right.
over by your car
This
that
thing is
you
in
were
form of a
driving.
question.
Would it be fair to say that it was difficult to see if anyone else was struck?
From the position I was in, I seen a tire going in front of me. So no, I did not see
In the
directly
aftermath, she could see
anywhere
that other people were
besides
struck,
the
though,
tire going in front of my face.
and no one else
So
was
it'd be fair to say that
flying
you
through
didn't
the
see
parade.
anyone get struck besides yourself.
It would be kind of difficult to see beyond that.
No further questions.
Can you redirect?
God, I
Can I
hate
just
him.
clarify, Ms. Grabo? The last time you saw your daughter before you got struck, where was she?
Objection. Irrelevant.
Overruled.
She was walking over, or she came over by me to get more candy to pass
The
out.
position of her
and she was
daughter
walking
is
off to the
highly
sidewalk
relevant
to hand out more
to
candy.
where she was when he
Sidewalk
hit her
on
with
which
his
side of
car.
the Burris float.
Objection, hearsay.
It's not.
Overruled.
He
That
knows
would be
two
to the
objections.
driver's side.
I
of-
hoped he'd learn
so
another one
to the
for
left.
today.
And then you got struck. And where's the next place that you saw Adelia?
I seen Adelia.
It's
Overruled.
not
She didn't see
hearsay.
anything.
It's not hearsay.
She
Mr.
saw
Brooks.
him. Or her.
That's the definition of hearsay.
Mr. Brooks,
Ask your lawyer.
the objection is noted.
It's in your
It's
book
overruled.
right there. I know the judge provided you a book that has the rules of evidence. Hearsay is in
To
it.
direct your attention to section 90801, sir.
That's the
you may answer
hearsay
the
rule
question.
in Wisconsin.
After I got up, I found my daughter in the middle of the road. She was no longer by the sidewalk.
So was she thrown?
Where was she in relation to the Burris, the truck that was pulling the float?
Objection, hearsay.
It's not
Overruled.
hearsay. This is an observation, and the judge
Direct your
doesn't need
attention
to
to 90801,
provide you
sir.
with grounds.
It's not hearsay. Go ahead, you may answer.
She was towards the driver's side, the front end of the vehicle. So she was more towards the front of the vehicle.
He needs to read what hearsay
You
is.
testified that after you were struck,
If he can
the
read.
noise in the area increased. It got louder. You're
Yes.
saying that? And so as a result of that increase in noise, you weren't listening for a horn?
No,
Okay. What about before you got struck? Did you hear the sound of a horn?
I did not.
Hearsay.
It's
It's not hearsay.
Jesus.
Overruled. Would you just repeat your answer, please?
I did not hear a horn.
Thank you. Just, you're doing fine, but if there is an objection, let me rule on it first, just so we're not talking over.
Just
each other.
expect him to object to
I'm
every
actually- I'm
question.
all done, Judge. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, you may step down. Thank you.
Exactly, Steve. I mean, she's clearly still traumatized. She, God, I hate him. And I don't use that word lightly.
You may call your next witness in.
The state would call Jeffrey Rogers.
You said Rogers.
Rogers.
Thank you. All right, good morning, Mr. Rogers. If you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is to my right. It
I'm
is
going to
up in
go
the
out on a
hazard.
limb and
When
guess
you get
he's
there,
the
please
baseball
remain
coach
standing. Raise your
for the
right
Blazers.
hand. My clerk Teresa, who is on my left, will swear you in.
since they're working their way down the parade. That's why we're still going. They've
Thank you,
proved
sir.
up a
Please
lot
have
of the
a seat.
charges, but they need someone to testify
The
as
first thing I
to
will
every
ask you to
single
do is
person
to state
hit.
your first and last
And
name
so, like,
for
the band
record and spell each,
conductor
please.
named each
Jeff
individual
Rogers,
band member
Jeffrogers
that was hit to prove up the
Thank you.
charges.
Thank you. Sir, do you live in the city of Waukesha?
Yes, I do.
Are you familiar with the program, the Waukesha Blazers Youth Baseball Program?
Yes, I
Overruled.
currently serve as the president.
And what is the Blazers Youth Program?
We have teams.
So my guess was
We
right.
have a rookies program, which is ages 5 up to 12. We also have a select baseball program and softball program, and that ranges from ages 7 all the way up through high school.
Is this for boys and girls?
Yes,
And as president, what duties do you have?
sure. Maintaining the schedule for the year, ensuring that we have indoor facilities for winter workouts, arranging.
You don't
any
want to play
tournaments,
baseball outside
ensuring
in
we
the
have game
winter
fields
in
for the year,
Wisconsin?
for practices and games.
Weird.
Setting the team rosters, running tryouts. There's lots on the plate.
Are you also a coach with the Blazers?
I am.
Okay. So direct your attention to November 21st of last year. Were the Blazers part of the City of Waukesha Christmas Parade?
Yes, we were.
And do you recall the day?
Yes.
Approximately what time did you have to get to the parade to set up?
It was probably about an hour before the parade started.
So
Was
about
the parade starting at approximately
3:30.
4 o'clock?
Yes.
What was the weather like?
It was cool, windy. I remember cloudy.
Who was all walking with the Blazers that day? I mean, not names, but generally speaking, was it players, coaches?
Sure, it was coaches, players, and some family members.
Did you have a float?
We had a pickup truck with a Christmas tree in the back.
And was that
They
pickup
went
truck
all
marked with the
out.
Blazers?
We had banners on both sides of the truck, yes.
This helps identify when they see the video.
Do you recall any groups that were in front, or a group that was in front of you or behind you?
From my memory, I remember the extreme dance group in front of us. I don't remember who was in back.
The logistics.
And were you there? Was
The
it just
Grinch
you,
float.
or did you have any kids that were involved in the program at that time?
I was there with 3 of my 4 children, one of which was playing on my baseball team.
Okay. And I'm assuming that there are other parents there
Yes,
with their kids? And specifically, were 2 of your kids there, Caden, Cayden, and Riley, Ryle?
yes.
And which one of those, does either one of those play with the program?
Caden plays on my team.
Okay, and Riley was there for,
Support. She
okay,
used to play in the program.
okay. And then you had a third child there.
Yes.
Do you know Josh Kriener?
Yes, I do.
And what is his involvement with the Blazers?
He was a first-year coach for our 9U.
Okay, and he was also walking?
Yes, he was walking the parade.
And did you have a formation for the parade, or was it just people kind of walking next to the truck, behind the truck,
All over the truck, we were handing out little flyers.
promoting the Blazers, I'm assuming?
Correct.
A parade's a good advertising
Specifically, do you
opportunity.
remember 2 players, Jackson and Tucker Sparks?
I do.
Were they there?
Yes, they were.
And was their dad there?
Yes.
Okay, and they were also walking the parade?
If I
Yes.
remember,
Do you recall if they were
Jackson
wearing
Sparks was
uniforms?
killed.
I believe Jackson was wearing his uniform. I don't remember if Tucker was.
I'm going to show you what's been, let me just make sure it was previously played, but Exhibit 11, and I'm just going to display it in front of the screen in front of you. Yes, It was previously admitted. So I will also play it, publish it to the jury. And let me know when you see it in front of you.
I see it.
Okay. So initially I'm going to, it's a 2-minute and 29-second video. I'm going to have it play and I will let Ms. Gussie know when.
Objection, how long is the video?
That's
It's 2 minutes and 29
that's
seconds.
not a.
Would that be the entire video?
That would be the entire Exhibit 11.
How is that an objection? Objection. I don't like how long the video is. He needs clown makeup.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the video at 28 seconds. Did you recognize that as the Blazers, I want to say float or group that was marching in the parade?
Yes, I saw myself and all the people walking with me.
That would have
Okay, did
been
you
one
see
of her
Josh
questions.
I did.
Did you see either one of your kids, Caden or Riley?
I saw Caden and Maya.
Did you see
Okay.
Jackson?
And then did you also see Jackson and Tucker Sparks?
I did see Jackson. I don't recall seeing Tucker.
Let's play it again from the beginning.
Once again, I think he's the witness for the Blazers. They won't have the children testify. Thank goodness.
Okay, pause it. First of all, can you circle yourself on the screen? It's a touch screen. Can you circle yourself? And you said that you saw Caden?
Yep, just previously.
Okay, of course. And how about Jackson?
Yes, I saw Jackson and I see Tucker now too.
Okay, and can you circle them? The shorter of the two kids, do you know, is that Jackson or Tucker?
That's Jackson.
Okay, so the taller is Tucker.
I believe
presumably.
so.
Okay, and I'm going to back it up approximately 4 seconds to 12 seconds. We've stopped at 16 seconds, and we can clear the screen. And I'm going to keep it paused. Do you see Caden in this frame?
I do.
And can you circle him by where he's standing? Now, this was, at some point, there was a vehicle that came through the parade, correct?
Jackson
Correct.
Sparks
This
was
before that time
killed.
period, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
At 8 years old. He was the youngest fatality.
At some point, and we can take this video down, did you hear any type of commotion or anything that drew your attention to behind you during the parade route?
Yes, I remember hearing some sort of scream. Couldn't tell if it was part of the parade or not. Turned over my left shoulder to see. I remember a wheel falling over and thinking like, oh no, somebody fell off their bike or somebody got hurt. So I turned back around. And at that point, the screams got louder and I saw people running or heard people running and lots of screaming. So I turned around again and that's when I saw a red SUV coming at us and I pulled my daughter Maya out of the way.
At that time, do you recall, you said Maya was next to you?
Yes.
Do you recall where Caden was?
I remember Caden was up to the left of our vehicle. That's somewhere, wasn't sure exactly.
And if you can recall, was the vehicle in the middle of Main Street?
Objection.
It's a
Overruled.
direct
You answered it.
observation of
From what I
what
remember,
you
yes.
did. It's not
And what
hearsay.
side
Stop.
were you on? Were you at the back of the vehicle or the side of the vehicle?
I was pretty much directly behind our vehicle in the middle of the road
Okay. And Caden was where in relationship to you?
to my left.
Okay. And your daughter, Maya?
Maya was standing right next to me on my left.
And Riley?
And Riley was up somewhere by Caden.
Do you recall where Josh Craner was?
Josh was to my left as well.
And how about Jackson and Tucker Sparks?
I recall them being in front of me. I'm not sure, maybe a little to the left as well.
So when you look back, you said you heard screaming, you heard yelling and running. Did you hear a horn honking?
I did not.
When you first observed
It's so
the
much
red
faster for them to
SUV,
just get the horn
First of
honking
all,
out of the
strike one.
way
was there a
than
group
letting Brooks
immediately
ask
after
57
the
questions
Blazers
about
team
it.
in the parade?
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Are you talking behind us or in front of us?
Behind. Was there someone directly behind you, or was there a gap between you and whoever was behind you? If you recall, when you look back, was there a float right behind you?
I don't remember seeing a float right behind us.
Okay. And people were running. Could you tell where they were running?
From what I remember, running towards me and to the sides of the street.
They were pinned in,
And
though.
when you
It was
first
hard to
saw
run
this, you said a red
away.
vehicle.
Yes.
Did you have a more? Was it a car, a SUV, a pickup truck?
I remember it being larger than a car. How I described it to other people as an SUV.
And how was it coming at you? Was it on the? It sounds like you were behind the truck. You said Caden was to your left, which would be, and I'm horrible at directions, but that would be the south side of the street. Was it coming on the south side of the street, the middle of the street, or the north side of the street, which would have been to your right?
Overruled. You may answer.
From what I remember, it was
He'd be
middle,
better off just
and then it
not
moved to
stating
to the left
grounds
to go around the
himself.
truck.
As it was
Just
coming
say
towards
objection and
you,
let the
what did you
judge
do?
My first
guess what
reaction
you
was
mean.
to grab Maya, and she slipped through my hands the first time, and then luckily I grabbed her the second time and pulled her to the side. Immediately was trying to put her in the back of our vehicle because I didn't know if more cars were coming.
Virtually
Say back of
every
your
witness.
vehicle, the Blazers
We've heard
vehicle, or did you have a
testimony
personal
of-
vehicle also in the parade.
The Blazers
Ju-
pickup truck.
Every one of them
And then
has
what happened?
some heroic
Sure.
action.
So after I
whether
got
big
her
or
up in the
small.
truck, I was frantically looking for my kids. I watched the SUV continue driving down the parade route, swerved back to the right after it passed our truck. I was screaming, "Where's Riley?" Caden found me, and I tried to get him in the back of the truck as well. From there, I was yelling at him, asking where Riley, well, screaming, "Where's Riley?" He didn't know. So I ran around the truck a couple times, and that's when I saw Jackson on the ground and stopped by him to check on him.
So where was Jackson in relationship? I'm assuming that once the red SUV came through, did the parade stop?
Yes.
Where was Jackson in relationship to the Blazers pickup truck?
From what I remember, he was in the front of the truck to the left.
Was there anyone else around him at that time?
His dad, Aaron.
Did you talk to Aaron?
I did.
And what observations did you make of Jackson?
Jackson was motionless on the ground, eyes open, didn't appear to be aware,
Did he appear to be alive?
was unsure.
Did you find out that he died as a result of being struck?
I did.
It's
Overruled.
it's
Again,
not
please, yeah.
hearsay. Stop.
So when the car came through,
I
the
realize
red
you don't
SUV,
want it
went
to come in
which side of the truck?
As testimony
Left side.
that you killed him.
And that's where you said Caden was. Did Caden get struck?
Caden told me he did.
What injuries did he have?
Objection, hearsay. Just say, oh, it's not for sure.
Overruled. This witness may answer based on personal knowledge.
So Caden said he saw the,
Hold on. That would be hearsay. So I'll sustain the objection if you would rephrase the question.
What injuries did Caden have?
he had bruising on his right elbow.
And do you know if Caden got struck by the red SUV?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Yes, he did.
Did you see Jackson or Tucker Sparks get struck by the SUV?
Sitting here today, I do not remember that.
Did you give a statement at some point? I think it was part of a parade survey, if you recall that.
Yes,
That was, I think, created by the Victim Witness Program, sent out by the Victim Witness Program, and then you would have sent it back. Do you recall that?
yes, I do.
And was that something that you created?
Yes, those are my words.
And is it correct that that form says, after that, I saw the car drive past us on the left, striking two of our players, Tucker and Jackson Sparks?
Yes,
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
You didn't see that. That's hearsay.
Overruled. His answer may stand.
Thank you. I'm assuming that the event
Once
was
she
fresher in your
rules, the
mind
time to argue is
um,
over.
when you gave that statement
Brooks
versus a
needs
year
to
later?
stop this.
Yes, I believe everything in that statement is accurate.
Thank you. And do you know if Jackson Sparks was injured? I'm sorry, Tucker Sparks.
Yes, he was.
Jackson
Okay. Do
Sparks
you
was
know,
definitely injured.
what injuries he had?
Fatally injured.
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
I remember
You'd
the
think
most
he might
significant
learn
was brain
from-
bleed or a head injury.
The previous question.
And did you eventually find your daughter Riley?
I did.
Where was she?
She was across the street. So I had taken Maya and Caden into the antique shop on the south side of the road. She was across the street in the Civic Theater.
Was she injured as a result of a car striking her?
She was.
And what car struck her?
The red
red
SUV.
Okay. What injuries did she receive?
She had multiple cuts, bruises, scraping on both of her legs.
Sometimes
Her
questions
knee was
sound
pretty badly
kind of
bruised.
ridiculous, but they're just proving up every single element for every
Now,
single
after the
charge.
car went to the left side of the Blazers truck, striking the kids, did you see the path that it took?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Yes, I remember it going back to the right side of
Learn
the
what
road after that.
hearsay is.
So after it passed the truck,
Yes,
did it strike the Blazers truck at all?
I don't remember.
No,
So it went to
because
the
he was
right, the far right
avoiding
side of the road?
vehicles.
Yes.
And then did you see it from
People are fine to hit, but
That's the
vehicles
last
might have
memory I have
stopped
of it.
him.
there? So do you know approximately how far Jackson was in front of the Blazers truck when you went and you talked to his father, Aaron, who was with Jackson?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
I don't remember.
Okay. Did the vehicle stop?
No, it didn't.
Did you see it stop at any time while you had view of it?
No,
Did you see
Can you
brake
estimate
light?
approximately how fast it was going before when you first took notice of the red SUV when you looked back?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
I remember thinking, this is a parade. It's 25-mile-an-hour speed limit here. If I were in my neighborhood and a car was going that fast, I would be yelling at it. So faster than the speed limit.
And I'm assuming when you're in a parade, you're not going, although the speed limit on that road might be 25 miles per hour, you're not going 25 miles per hour.
They're going
Would that be
one
a
or
correct
two.
Statement.
Absolutely.
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled. His answer may stand.
Asking him how fast he was walking.
Now,
To object
before you
to
went
that
into
as
the
hearsay
antique
is
store,
so far beyond ridiculous.
Was there anyone yelling anything about shots being fired?
Yeah, I don't remember who yelled it, but I heard shots were fired and to get inside the nearest building.
And did you go in right away, or were you still looking around the car for Riley?
Right. I didn't have Riley at the time, so had to make a decision that I had 2 out of my 3 kids and took them into the antique store after that.
Prior to going into the antique store, did you see Jackson again?
I don't remember if it was before or when I came out of the antique store.
So did you see Jackson a second time on Main Street?
Yeah.
Hearsay.
Overruled.
Where was that, or where was he?
Yeah. So after I put Caden and Maya in the antique store, I asked the couple there to watch them because I was going to go find my other daughter. Ran back outside on a main street, and that's when I saw Jackson again. And at that point, I believe a woman was trying to perform CPR on him.
Did you ever see Josh Crater while you were outside
I remember,
after the vehicle had gone through? I apologize.
no, that's fine. After running back outside, I remember seeing someone near our truck that had a jacket, a brownish jacket on. And at the time, I believed it was Josh. I didn't know him well at the time.
And where was he?
He was on the left side of the vehicle, our vehicle.
On the ground, did you say?
Yes, he was laying on the ground.
And at some point, how did you find Riley?
I received a phone call when I was in the antique store. It was a phone call or a text message from my friend, Ben.
And what did he have Riley?
Yeah, he said he was with her across the street and that her legs were injured, but she was okay.
And that's what I was just going to say. As a result, you had indicated that Caden did receive an injury from being struck by the car.
Yes,
Did Riley receive an injury?
yes.
What were her injuries?
She had scrapes, bruises, abrasions up and down her legs.
So
And that was from the
road
vehicle?
rash.
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked and admitted into evidence as Exhibit 15. And I would ask that be published to the jury right away.
Go ahead.
And let me know, sir, when that's up on the screen in front of you.
I see it.
There's a section. Actually, it's in the middle of the page, probably more on the upper part. It has
This is the map that
names:
has the
Josh
location
Crater,
of
Riley
all the
Rogers, Hayden
victims.
Rogers, Jackson Sparks, and Tucker Sparks. Do you see that?
I do.
And then there's a line on the left side of that diagram that goes down to the map where it leads to a yellow star. Do you see that?
Yes.
Would that be the area in which each of those people were struck by the red SUV?
Objection, hearsay.
Yes, it appears accurate.
Thank you. I'm now going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 148. I'm going to have it just shown in front of you.
I think 148's new.
And I'll have it play for a couple seconds. It's starting at 0. Sir, do you recognize the frame that it stopped at, which is at 5 seconds?
Yes,
Have you seen this video before?
I have.
And does it accurately depict what occurred on November 21st of last year, shortly before, during, and after the red SUV struck the Blazers?
Yes.
Permission to publish and admit Exhibit 148 into evidence.
He's going to object. He won't give grounds, though.
Objection is noted. Exhibit 148 is received. Permission to publish is granted.
What grounds?
Sir,
It's
approximately
admissible.
3 minutes and 22 seconds. I'm going to play that entire video initially, and then we'll talk
The
about it.
judge doesn't have to give grounds. You
3
have to
minutes and
give
22
grounds for
seconds.
why it's
Thank you.
not admissible.
The entire video.
Your objection is noted. It's overruled.
Of course, they haven't shown the whole video.
Relevance.
What grounds?
That
That is the grounds. Relevance. Go ahead.
by he's driving me nuts. And the video's not on our screens, which is probably for the best. Exactly, Steve. It's no fair if the jury gets to see all of this. Or, oh, do you mean at the end of trial? I thought you meant during trial. Sequester the jury away from the evidence. I'm still waking up. Oh, they're showing the aftermath now. They put the video up. People are frantically running around. There's the Grinch float. That might be Jackson in the red coat in the gutter across the street. except no one's kneeling over him. So that might just be a chair or a jacket or something. And the lights are flickering on in businesses as people are taking cover in them.
That is the entire 3 minutes and 22 seconds. Sir, you just gave a testimony with regard to your actions. Did you see yourself in that video doing a lot of the things that you just testified to?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm going to play it one more time, and I'm going to pause it at certain points. If you can just identify where you are and what you're doing, okay? So let's play it from the very beginning at 00.
Objection, we just watched the video. Is what I expected from Brooks.
I'm going to pause it right here. Now, it looks like there's quite a few people in there walking behind Waukesha Blazers truck. Are all those people part of the Waukesha Blazers program?
And we see a still
It
of
appears
this
so, yes.
now.
So either parents, players, or support?
Yes,
And do you see yourself?
I do.
And can you circle where
She
you
did,
are?
Steve, which
And your daughter?
I think is
Maya is right here.
And you see Caden?
being overly cautious because I don't think Court TV is on broadcast
And you see
television.
Josh
It-
Crainer in this?
It's
correct?
on cable, isn't it? And the FCC
No, I don't.
doesn't have much control over
For the
cable.
record, were you paused?
Yes, I'm sorry. At 13
And definitely
seconds,
for live
if we can
streaming,
clear the screen and continue on.
it's pretty much a free for all outside of
Pause.
CP and
Do you know
terms
what you
of
were looking
service.
back at? It seemed like, as I started saying before, a lot of people were looking behind you. Is that when you heard, you said
I
something
do
about a
appreciate them
tipping?
censoring it though.
Yeah, I remember the first time I turned back, seeing something tip, whether it was a stroller, a wheelchair, a bike, some sort
And
of tires.
I'm not
in
a
my
First
mind,
Amendment
and
lawyer,
Hearing
so
screams at that time, thinking that somebody got hurt.
And you said you turned back, face forward, and then something
Yeah.
else drew your attention back.
Correct.
but like
What
I
was
said,
that?
I'm glad not to
The
see
screaming.
the actual
Now,
carnage
do you
on
see Josh
video.
Crainer in
The
this?
testimony's hard
I
enough.
do.
Okay, and can you circle him where he's at?
He was running right there.
And that's at 16 seconds?
Yes, and I was just reminded of that. Thank you.
Gotta create the
And you
full
saw the video
record.
straight through before, correct?
Correct.
And Josh Crainer is about to get struck by the car, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so let's play that through.
I don't think that they've
Stop
asked
the
him
video.
about Josh's injuries.
When you saw Josh laying on the ground, Josh Crainer, do you know approximately where? I'm sorry, it stopped at 19 seconds. I'm very bad at this. Do you know where Josh Crainer was laying approximately?
To the left side of our vehicle. That's about all I remember.
Okay, so he's not shown. Did you see two bodies fly forward from the truck
In the video or
in
when I
this
was
video
there?
right now?
I would have to see it again.
Okay, if we can, we go back to probably 14 seconds. And play it again. From 13 seconds. Stop it. Did you see two bodies flying forward?
Yes.
Do you recall, as you look at this picture, where Jackson was of the two bodies that flew forward?
I believe he was on the left side of the truck as well.
And can you circle him by where he's laying on the ground?
Can you play it one more time, please?
Yes, and that was, I stopped it at 21 seconds. I'm now going back again to 14 seconds and playing it again, starting at 14 seconds. I paused, or it was paused at 18 seconds. Did that assist you?
Yeah, looks like he's laying right up here.
And do you know who the body is that's to the right of Jackson?
I don't, looking at it from here.
And do you know, as Jackson and Tucker were marching to the left of the truck, as you testified
They
to, were they
generally
close together in
should have,
distance?
Darlene.
Yes, they were close.
Especially exhibits are generally going to be
At
known.
85 I'm sorry, and it's starting at
Video
18 seconds.
evidence. The
What is
defense
he
will have
doing now?
tried to
I picked up Maya and I'm running
exclude
to
everything they
check on
possibly could have,
Jackson.
but that's still not going to stop him from frivolous
And-
Over the top of
objections.
him right now.
I was just gonna say, if you can narrate, and that you said that at approximately 31 seconds, you were over the top of Jackson.
Yes. And now I just grabbed Ella, another one of our members.
You can pause the video. Okay. And what are you doing?
I'm
And
putting-
it's paused at 35 seconds, 55 seconds.
Putting Maya in the back of the truck to keep her safe.
And how about Ella?
Ella, I was bringing her with me too, so I knew where she was.
At this point, had you seen Caden?
No,
Continue.
that I'm talking to
Pause.
Caden now.
So at 1 minute and 3 seconds, you're lifting someone up into the pickup truck?
Yes, that's Caden.
Continue.
And I'm yelling at him, asking where Riley is. And he's telling me he doesn't know. I told him to stay there and I was going to go run and try to find her. As I went to the left of the truck, as I knew she was on that side.
Is that you running down the
I
street?
saw somebody down in the road praying it wasn't her. It was not.
I'm gonna pause it right now. When you said you saw someone else in the road, did it appear that that person was injured?
Yeah, they were down on the ground with people around them.
If you can continue on.
Telling the
Pause.
kids that it'll be okay and they're safe now with the truck.
And that was paused at 1 minute and 47 seconds. Continue on. At 2 minutes in, had you found Riley yet?
No,
This is obviously hard on him,
and there I'm pointing out that
Pause.
we need
but he's
medical
doing
attention.
such a good job.
And that was at 2 minutes and 31 seconds. You're pointing out that who needs medical attention?
Jackson,
I really commend him
You can
as a
continue.
witness.
at that point, I was just talking to Caden again, asking him if he remembered where Riley was.
That's 2 minutes and 38 seconds.
And I told him to come and help me find her.
I know I wouldn't be this composed and articulate. If I went through this with my niece and nephews,
At this point, people are rushing. in
I'd
the
be a
stores as we
basket
heard
case.
Shots were fired.
That was at 3 minutes.
So I grabbed Maya and Caden and ran into the nearest open door that I could find.
Pause. And that was at about 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Is that-
I don't think I could do this as a coach either.
Did that happen about 3 minutes and 10 seconds into the video?
Yes.
I'm sorry. And that's all I need for the video. And finally, I'm going to show you Exhibit 31. And let me just see if that's been admitted yet. It has not. So I'm going to have it displayed in front of you. I'm not going to have it published until I show you a couple seconds of this to see if you can indicate that this is a true representation of what happened on November 21st.
I see it, and it is.
Okay. Permission to publish it and admit Exhibit 31 into evidence. 27 seconds.
Exhibit 31 is received. Permission to publish is granted.
And if we can play it. It was played until the end at 27 seconds. Does that accurately depict the path of the vehicle as it was striking the Blazers members?
Yes.
Wow, he didn't object for hearsay. Not that it was hearsay, but
All right, I'm going to take a mid-morning break at this point, about 15 to 20 minutes. All rise for the jury, please.
all right. With that, I'm going to take my mid-morning potty break. I'll be back, and then I'll fast forward, see if we can catch up with the live. So I'll be back in just a minute.
All right, thank you, everyone. We are in recess. Sir, you may step down as well. I'll be back in 20 minutes.
All right, I'm back. I hope you all behaved while I was gone. And a few minutes ago, before we fast forward, a few minutes ago, I mentioned my niece and nephews. Um, I am going to take this opportunity to say happy birthday to my youngest nephew. By his pronunciation, he's turning foy today. I realize chances of him ever seeing this are very slim because, well, as a 4-year-old, he's way too young to watch this, and it'll be irrelevant by the time he is old enough. But just the same, happy birthday, buddy. I'm looking forward to your party on Saturday. And with that, let's see if we can catch up. All right. Looks like court hasn't restarted yet, so we're caught up. From here on out, we're going to watch live. Um, he's really angering me already. You may have noticed yesterday I was probably red in the face by the end of the afternoon session. He makes me mad. Um, it got to the point yesterday, as tired as I was, the only thing I could do was go outside and play with the niece and 2 nephews that live next door. Um, go out, play with them on their swing sets, have a pizza party with them. Um, sometimes, even as a grumpy old man, the only thing to do is to just go out and have some mindless fun. Go, go out, appreciate the children while they still want to hang out with you. While while they still think their uncle's cool and not some old doddering fool that they don't have time for. um, but it definitely helped. I went to bed last night in a better mood than I ended my stream. um, probably resulted in me being less rested than I otherwise would have. Um, which is why I was a little late this morning. I had to hit the snooze once. I just couldn't help it. It was necessary. But yeah, that as was saying, this coach is doing a fantastic job. I couldn't imagine being in his position. Um, I'm so glad though that the prosecution is sort of doing targeted witnesses. They're doing the coach to discuss all the injuries and the fatality on the baseball team. They used the band conductor for all of the injuries on the band. They children are competent to be witnesses, but I'm so glad they're not using children as witnesses, or at least not yet. That there has been discussion of potentially having minors as witnesses. They won't be shown directly on camera, um, or at least their faces won't if they're called as witnesses. I don't know if the state is planning on calling them as witnesses, but I could see Brooks calling children just to be abusive. Thank you, Darlene. He, I think today, looking out the window, it's a lovely blue sky. it early October can be an interesting time in Utah. Let's see. 76 today, and then 74 or 75 is the high all the way through till Monday. So just beautiful autumn weather, really. I should over the weekend find some time and drive up into the mountains. See if there are any leaves left up there.
So we have a few more minutes left in any event. I told the state that once I capture an annotated image now, I can have it in the court record within 3 or 4 minutes. Oh, okay. Now that I know where to get it.
All right, we've got court whispering, but no video.
So then they can show it from there.
Just discussing how to enter sub exhibits, 26B into evidence properly and how to do it efficiently. I'm guessing they're not on the record yet. I mean, the jury's definitely not back in, but I imagine the microphones were turned on prematurely just since they're in the courtroom. Generally, they haven't been capturing anything until they're on the record, which I'm guessing is why the video is still not up. I'm definitely apprehensive about Brooks cross-examining the baseball coach.
We went off at 10:09. All right, it's 20 minutes. All right, we will go back on the record appearances are as they were before.
I think this could be
I will have
brutal.
the jury brought out, and we'll continue with the questioning of this witness.
I have a friend who lives in Auckland, New Zealand, so I realize that is quite a distance from Australia, but the comparison being it's spring there as well, and he posted pictures of snow last week.
About the jurisdiction.
She decided jurisdiction.
So will proof be validated?
She doesn't
request
have
is
to
denied.
provide written proof of jurisdiction. There is no such thing as a
What legal
certified
basis, Your Honor?
proof
The
of
record
jurisdiction. Just stop.
That a judicial determination.
Stop.
My ruling was put on the record earlier, sir.
So that is a judicial determination.
It's already been done. This issue is over. She's not listening to you on it again.
All rise.
If you don't like it, you can appeal, but they'll laugh you out of the appeals court. But I guess he wouldn't be a true sovereign citizen if he didn't bring it up every single recess.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Mr. Brooks, you may start your questioning of this witness then.
Just a second.
He's got tears, wiping the tears because he's the real victim here.
I'm sorry about that. I just needed a second.
He's the real victim. we were speculating a little bit a couple days ago on, oh, gotta go for the Bible. But we were speculating what his diagnosed personality disorder is.
I apologize.
I,
to the
I read
witnesses.
that in his mom's letter
A
to
little
the
emotional
court,
right now for me.
asking
I
them
apologize
not
the
to
court as
allow
well for
him
the delay.
to represent himself. She disclosed that he was bipolar, which, judging by his ups and downs we've witnessed, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
Can you recall what time you arrived at the parade that evening?
I don't remember exactly.
It would have been afternoon, since it would have been about 3 o'clock
Do you recall how long you intended to stay?
until the end of
Through
the parade.
till it was done.
You testified earlier to seeing some of the video footage that was played. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, that's fair to say.
Do you recall how many times before today you saw the video footage?
I believe I saw one of the videos once.
And you don't recall seeing any of the other videos?
Maybe clips we were bouncing around.
Do you recall by whom you were shown the videos?
The folks at the prosecution table.
That referring to
It's almost like they prepared the
prosecutors sitting there
witness.
right now?
Yes,
All three?
yes.
You stated in testimony earlier that you did not see the vehicle strike the children that were in front of you. Would that be fair to say?
I said sitting here today, I don't remember that.
They just
Say something to
magically fell down dead
That'd be fair
in
to
the
say.
middle of the parade.
You'd have to be more clear.
You said something to that effect of what you just said.
To what effect?
That you sitting here today that you do not recall seeing.
He asked and
He
answered.
struck
He
ahead.
just said it.
That's correct.
His repetition is
You
abusive.
also stated that you did see who was struck ahead of you.
Is that a question?
You're going to have to go double
That'd be fair
speed,
to say.
Static. I was
In
late
relation
too,
to what?
so you're
In
forgiven.
relation to someone being struck in front of you
When I was there or the video? What are you talking about?
at any time when you was there.
When I wrote my statement, I wrote what I remembered at that time.
So would it be fair to say that as you sit here today that anything about your statement may have changed?
Nothing has changed.
So your testimony here today would be accurate to what you reported?
Everything I said.
Are you
has been
sure
accurate.
you're not lying on the stand?
Do you recall saying in your interview with the DIC
With the dick.
that your 11-year-old son and 9-year-old daughter suffered minor injuries in the event?
I remember saying they were injured.
And he testified about their injuries here
Do you
in
recall
court.
saying that the injuries were minor?
No.
I mean, they were
Now,
minor
is there
compared to
a witness
Jackson
to the
Sparks,
statement?
who you killed.
Do you have a copy of that?
Yes, right here.
Is it his statement or a summary?
It's not his statement. It is a statement from DCI. An agent
Oh,
from
DCI, not
in which
DIC.
The DCI
So they're
agent
not
spoke with
dicks.
Mr. Rogers and wrote down what he believed was said to him. It was not signed by Mr. Rogers.
It's all
It
good,
was not
Static.
reviewed by Mr. Rogers. Therefore, I would object to this being characterized as this witness's statement.
Grounds.
She
If you
just
would like to
said.
call the DCI agent then he may do so.
Grounds.
She
I'm gonna
just
sustain
gave the
objection as
grounds.
to the form of the question. Rephrase, if you're able.
The grounds are, it's not his
Do
statement.
you
The
recall
DCI
stating
made the
to-
statement.
Whomever interviewed you from the DCI that the injuries were minor.
No,
Any reason why they would report that you said that?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
This guy's ridiculous. He's a clown.
Any reason why they would believe that that's what you said?
You'd have to ask
Or that you
them.
reported grounds.
Relevance?
Grounds.
Calls for speculation on the part of the witness. Sustained.
Static, he's being more aggressive with grounds today. He's even doing it to his own objections.
Do you remember giving a prepared statement at 10:45 a.m. on 11/22 of 2021?
I do.
Do you recall the gist of what you prepared?
Can you be more specific?
He talked about what
Specifically-
happened at the parade.
That you heard commotion, turned around to see a stroller or something fall over about a block and a half behind us.
Yes,
You recall making that statement?
I do.
On cross-examination, you want every question answered yes or
About how
no.
many people would you estimate was at the parade that day?
You want
I
to
would
be the
guess the
one
thousands.
testifying, in essence.
And you were able to see something fall over from a block and a half away amidst thousands of people.
Yes,
And you don't recall what that was that you saw.
no.
Probably
Any
something that
reason
you
as to
hit
why
or
would
someone that you hit.
name what you saw fall if you don't recall it?
I described it.
So you did see something fall.
Objection, ask and answer.
Grounds.
Asked and answered.
Sustained.
Do you recall what the item was?
I seriously think this
Grounds.
was a jailhouse
answered.
lawyer told
Grounds.
him to say
Sustained.
grounds. The prosecution's going to give the grounds, whether you shout it out or not. It just makes you look like a jerk. It does not help you. The jury hates you.
Do you recall about what time you heard that shots were fired?
After watching the video, it's about 3 minutes, 3 minutes after the red SUV drove by us.
Do you recall the day of the incident? Not the
I
video.
remember it was after the vehicle drove by us.
Did you hear the shots?
No,
Do you remember who that was reported by?
I don't.
What did you do after you heard that shots were fired?
He took cover in the businesses,
I
gathered
looked
his
for all
children.
of my children again and made the decision to take 2 of them into the antique store.
About how long did it take you to look for everybody before you went into the antique store?
Before or after the shots fired comment?
It was
After-
all within a 3-minute
Shots
period.
fired.
That was
I
the
think I did
length of
another
the
lap
video
around the
clip.
car and then around our Blazers truck and then grabbed my kids and left.
Were you able to retrieve everyone at that time?
No, he couldn't find one of his kids.
You recall who was missing?
Riley was missing.
She was in the business across the street, and he got a phone call or a text telling him where she was.
Did you leave the antique shop anytime after you had gathered your loved ones into the antique shop?
No, he stayed in the
Yes.
antique shop
About how
until it was
long
time to
before you
testify
left the
just
antique
now.
shop?
I don't remember.
Do you remember what you did when you left the antique shop?
He
I
went and
remember at
found
some point
Riley and went to
Seeing
Jackson Sparks.
Jackson again on the ground.
Did you continue looking for the loved one that you missed before you gathered the other ones into the antique shop?
To the best of my recollection.
You don't recall for sure?
He found her
It was
eventually.
pretty chaotic. I was looking constantly for my missing daughter.
Did you end up finding her?
I did not find her, no.
She's still missing.
And who is Ben White?
He was
Uh,
another coach with the Blazers. and a
he
friend.
wasn't brought up on direct.
Was he with you in the antique shop?
No,
So at some point you got separated. Would that be fair to say?
separated from who?
Separated from Ben.
We were all separated as soon as the car drove by.
Any idea where he may have gone at that time?
Ask
No.
him.
You remember talking to him after you had gathered everybody in the antique shop?
I remember at some point he reached out. I don't remember if it was text or phone call. Yes.
Did he say if he was injured in any way?
Ask him.
I don't remember.
Were you injured in any way?
No physical injuries.
His kids were.
Was it pretty windy that day from your recollection?
From what I remember, there was a pretty good breeze. Yes.
Pretty cold?
It was cool.
It's late November in Wisconsin.
Pretty loud?
It's a
Normal
parade.
parade sounds.
Would that be characterized as loud?
I guess it depends who's, it would be subjective to the person there.
Would you say it was loud?
Not overly loud.
It became loud when people were screaming as you were mowing them
So
down.
you yourself were able to hear pretty good over a parade with thousands of people.
I would say so.
He
Yes.
could hear what?
You have one of your daughters, Maya, with you that
Like
day.
I said,
Would that be fair
Darlene,
to say?
I have no
That's fair
kids.
to
I
say.
have a niece and 3 nephews.
Was she injured in
I'd
any
be
way?
beside myself.
I threw her to the ground to get her out of the way, so she had some scrapes.
And would that result from you throwing her to the ground?
I don't know.
Did she say that she had been injured in any way?
No.
I'm guessing she's not a named victim then if he didn't hit her with the truck.
Do you recall if anyone else besides your children who were injured?
I remember lots of people who were injured.
Like
You
Jackson
recall.
Sparks.
I just answered that.
Specifically, you remember who?
Jackson
Besides your children?
Sparks. You killed
You
him.
want me to list all of the names that were injured?
Just rough estimate that you recall,
That I recall, 10 to 15 people that I saw.
that you actually observed.
Yes.
He said,
Did you
Stop it.
render any assistance to any of those people?
No.
Any reason why not?
because he had
My daughter
kids
was
there.
missing.
So it'd be fair to say at that moment your concern was your daughter that you didn't retrieve to go into the
The
antique
horn
shop.
absolves him of
My
guilt,
concern was for
Darlene.
everyone that was just struck by the vehicle.
You can do
Including your
anything as
daughter that
long
was
as you
missing,
honk your
right?
horn.
I was concerned about her missing, yes.
Did you file any reports
Stop it.
other than just the interview,
What do you mean by
like an
reports?
injury report or of any kind?
Just what you had in front of you that you're reading from. That was my statement.
No. Did you file any
What do you
Injury
mean by
reports or-
file?
Judge, that's a big question.
grounds?
She just
Sustained
said
as to the
vague.
form of the question, sir. Please rephrase.
God, he's a black hole. He's so dense.
What I'm asking is, usually if there's an injury,
And you know
You
this
would file
from
a complaint.
experience?
to the best of your recollection, did you file any complaint
To who?
from the incident?
I wouldn't consider it a complaint. I filed some paperwork saying that my children were injured, yes.
Do you recall if that was a complaint?
What do you
don't
mean
know.
complaint?
Was it a claim in any sort of way?
Yes.
Do you recall what the claim was?
That his
It was
children
with
were
the
injured.
Victim assistance program.
And what does that consist of? What are their resources in pursuant to the complaint that you filed or claim that you filed, right?
Can you rephrase?
He's
What would be their assistance and to help you with your claim that you were filing?
It was to help with any medical bills that arose out of this situation.
So it would be fair to say that you had a financial interest in this incident.
that
Right.
Characterizes
God,
the testimony.
Grounds.
it
I
mischaracterizes
believe
the
it's relevant to
testimony.
the fact that
She said
bills were needed to be paid. Is relevant.
Overruled, he may answer.
I was looking to get the medical bills covered, yes.
it's almost like he caused them financial
So would that
damage
be fair to
due
say
to
that you had
medical
financial
bills.
interest?
He's being made whole.
I would say sitting here today, I didn't care if it got approved or not. I was trying to get assistance for the medical bills.
So if it hadn't gotten approved, would you have been able to do it yourself, or would you have seek to do it yourself?
Judge's relevance.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Sustain the
This
question
is so completely
vague.
irrelevant. This
Would
has
you-
nothing
would
to
you
do with
have
whether or not you
seeking-
ran the
Would you
Parade
have paid the
down.
medical bills yourself,
irrelevant.
Yes,
regardless to price?
Stop.
I generally pay my bills.
And specifically that matter, not the rest of your bills, specifically that matter.
He said yes.
Grounds.
This is
Sustained.
irrelevant.
Hold on, Mr.
Asked and
Gross.
answered. He's abusive.
Would you consider yourself an injured party in this case?
No,
His children were injured.
Were you aware
His
that you might be
baseball
called to
players were
testify in this
injured.
case?
eventually, yes.
Did you seek to testify in this case?
No,
Because wanting to testify disqualifies you from testifying.
May I ask why you
It only
agreed to
counts if you're
testify if you
forced.
didn't seek to?
He was subpoenaed.
Relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Do you recall who informed you via subpoena to testify?
How he
I
thinks
received
this
a
is
subpoena
helping
from the
him
DA's office, yes.
is
You
mind-boggling.
did?
Yes,
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
no problem.
Are you aware of the plaintiff in this case?
Objection.
Sustained.
Have you read a complaint pursuant to this case at any time?
Not that I remember, no.
Witnesses generally don't read the complaint. It's irrelevant to them. They testify about what they observed, not about the court process.
Do you understand that for charges to be issued that it has to be a claim?
Objection
to be a
calls
plaintiff.
for illegal speculation
Grounds.
or
Okay, so first of all,
conclusion.
Grounds.
grounds are relevancy.
And it calls for a legal
It's not
conclusion.
relevant. That would be the
You
grounds.
also have to state the grounds.
No, that relevance is the grounds.
And it mischaracterizes the former.
He doesn't
testimony.
have to say, she
Sustained
doesn't
as
have
to
to say
both grounds.
why it's irrelevant. The judge determines if it's relevant or not.
90611, move on, please.
Relevance is the grounds.
So you're not sure if there's a plaintiff.
Stop.
Relevance.
Sustained.
It calls for a legal conclusion. Judges make legal conclusions. Witnesses do not make legal conclusions.
Have you ever had any interaction with the plaintiff?
Shut him down.
Grounds.
Shut him
Sustained.
down.
Are you aware who brought charges in this matter? Grounds.
Sustained.
If you're not sure of a complaint, how can you be sure of the charges in this case?
Shut
Objection.
him down.
Sustained.
Come on, Judge.
Under 90611, please move on to a new topic, or your cross-examination will be shortened and cut off.
Stop wasting the jury's time. At the very least.
Your Honor, with all due respect, that's every question that I'm asking is relevant.
It's not relevant.
In this
The judge
matter,
determines
there seems to
relevance.
be nowhere
Mr. Brooks, you're
found.
making a legal argument. We'll take that up outside the presence of the jury. Move on.
I believe the jury deserves to know.
No,
who the
they
plaintiff is in
don't.
this matter.
It's
very
irrelevant
relevant
to
the
them.
case. How can they
Stop.
rule on something when they don't
Mr.
even know
Brooks,
who the plaintiff is?
Please, move on. Next question, or I will turn it back over to the state for redirect.
He's just getting worse and worse. You wouldn't think it was possible.
Can you recall
But-
if you saw the driver of the vehicle?
I don't remember seeing the driver.
Your identity is not at issue anymore.
Were you able to catch a glimpse of the license plates?
No,
Was I honking my horn?
Do you recall if the vehicle had any tinted windows?
I don't remember.
He said it
About
was a
how
red
far
SUV. That's good enough.
From the vehicle were you when it passed you?
From the red SUV,
About how far from the vehicle were you when it passed you?
can you,
He's
Tell me
asking
which
for
vehicle you're talking
clarification.
about.
There were trucks
How
there
far
towing
from the
floats.
vehicle
The red SUV,
were you when it passed you?
the
vehicle
support
that
truck that
went around your Blazers vehicle.
The
Your Honor,
red-
I guess I would ask the defendant to be more clear as to what vehicle and when it went around.
it's
Did it
vague.
begin the parade
I was
before it
just-
struck his kids.
I was just clear. I said the vehicle that went around his Blazers.
Sustained
vehicle.
as to the form of the question. Please rephrase.
The vehicle that you observed.
The red SUV that you were
or rather, I'll
driving,
say the vehicle that you observed approaching.
the one you were traveling in.
About how far from it were you when it passed you?
Objection, just to clarify, is he saying the red SUV that this witness has described as that red SUV was approaching him or some other vehicle?
Sustained as to the form of the question.
Well, I thought he was clear when he said that.
It's
There's
not
only
clear
one
what
question,
you're
Mr.
asking.
Brooks.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
You have to be clear with your question. It's
Well,
vague.
he
As
said
to
it
the
was
word
only-
vehicle.
Your
You need to
question
be
was
clear.
vague.
Which
There were
vehicle you're
multiple
questioning the
vehicles
witness
on
about.
the road.
That was approaching. that he
Which
said
At
was
what
one?
approaching.
point in time, what color is the vehicle? Something like that, sir.
The vehicle that you observed strike anyone. How close were you to that vehicle when it
At what
passed you?
point?
The red SUV was about 10 feet probably from me.
And you didn't see the driver, correct?
Correct.
It
Did you
came
see
up from
anyone else
behind him.
in the vehicle?
I did not look in the vehicle.
Would that be a no?
That's a no.
Thank you.
Remember to answer the question.
Would it be fair to say that 10 feet from a vehicle is pretty close?
Close enough to
Subjective.
see that it's a red
What
SUV.
would you say? Would you say that's pretty close?
It depends what you're talking about.
Close
Would
for
you
what
say that 10
purpose?
feet is pretty close to a vehicle?
Close
Depends.
for
If they're
what?
driving,
This
yes.
is so vague. This is stupid.
Would it be fair to say that that's close enough to be able to see who is driving?
He wasn't looking at who was
Depends on many
driving.
other factors.
I think I figured out his defense. It's not his fault. He's so dense, he's a black hole. He sucked everyone else into
What would
his
those factors
orbit.
be?
Eyesight, windows up, down. If they're looking at the vehicle,
I'm assuming it would be fair to say that you were definitely looking at the vehicle, correct? Would that be fair to say?
At some point.
when?
When it was approaching and when it passed?
When it was approaching, it was behind
Yes.
him.
Any reason why you would not try to identify the driver?
His focus was his kids.
Because my children were about to be struck.
Seriously.
Any reason why you would not try to see if you can catch a license plate number?
His children were about to be struck.
Because people had just been hit.
This is so damaging to him. He needs to stop. This is doing nothing to impact the witness's credibility. He's not contradicted anything
So it'd be
he's
fair to say
saying.
because of what you was observing, that would be the reason why you didn't try to get a description.
He
of the
just
driver or
said,
license plate?
asked and answered.
My priority at the time was not identifying the driver.
I mean, he's identified the SUV. Other witnesses have already identified you as the driver of that SUV. There will be DNA evidence coming up showing he was the driver of that
Just briefly, Your
SUV.
Honor. Sir, you had indicated that you submitted a claim to the victim witness program for medical bills. Is that correct?
Correct.
Were those the medical bills for Caden and Riley that were incurred as a result of the red SUV hitting both of those children?
Yes.
It's
Overruled.
you brought up.
His answer may-
You brought it up.
Yes.
Yes. Sure.
No
Thank you.
problem.
No further questions. Thank you.
All right.
You
Thank you.
brought
You
up
may
the
step down.
payments. Ugh.
All right, you may call your next witness.
Today we call Josh Crater.
This might be
Good
one of
morning,
the
sir. If you would please make
children.
your way to the witness stand, which is up a riser to my right. When you get there, please remain standing.
Or no, it looks
Raise
like
your
it's
right
another
hand.
coach
My clerk
as he
Teresa,
walks
who's on
up.
my left, will swear you in.
But I think he's still involved with the
Do you
Blazers
solemnly swear
baseball
that the testimony
program.
you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you, sir. Please be seated. The first thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each, please.
Joshua Craner, Joshua, Craner, Kraner.
I think he was
Thank you.
injured.
Go ahead.
Sir, I'm going to direct your attention to November 21st of last year, 2021. Were you at the City of Waukesha Christmas Parade?
Yes, I was.
And were you a
He
participant
looks
or a
mid
spectator?
40s to early
And what group
50s.
were you with?
The Waukesha Blazers.
And what was your affiliation with the Waukesha Blazers?
I'm a head coach of the Slammers, which was at the time a 9U baseball team.
How long had you been involved with the Blazers?
Just a couple months.
Did you have any children that were part of the Blazers program?
Yes, my son.
And how many kids?
Just one.
Okay. So on that day, were you there with your son or daughter?
My son and my wife.
Okay. And you were marching with the Blazers.
Yes.
Do you recall what you were doing Were you handing out candy, handing out flyers
We were handing out flyers.
to support the Blazers program?
Yeah, to recruit people for the rookie program.
What did the Blazers have afloat in the parade?
We had a truck.
Okay. And was it marked with the Blazers logo on it?
Yes.
Do you recall what color it was?
No.
think it
And
was
where were you
white.
in relationship to the truck? Was
Or
the truck in
black.
front of the people with the Blazers, or was the truck behind the?
We've seen
people?
multiple trucks.
We had players on both sides of the vehicle. I was walking majority in the back of behind the truck during the parade.
Did there come a time when you heard a commotion behind the truck?
Yes,
Can you describe for the jury what exactly you heard?
I heard screaming.
Now, you were at a parade, so I'm assuming as part of a parade, there's normally screaming. Was it something different?
Yes,
Exactly,
Can you describe
Darlene. He was a great witness.
I'm sorry,
Better than I
Horrific.
could have done.
what did you do?
I turned around to look at what was going on.
What did you see?
I saw a red Ford Escape up on the curb.
He identified the
people
model.
throwing themselves out of the way.
Now, when you say you saw the vehicle up on the curb,
This is also a good
can you
witness.
describe that for the jury, what you mean by that?
It wasn't in the roadway.
So I'm assuming that the parade is taking place on Main Street in the city of Waukesha,
Yes.
and the cars and the parade participants would be within the areas between the two curbs.
Yes.
And this car was up on a curb.
What I remember, yes.
Okay. Did you see that car strike any people?
No.
Okay. You saw people running from the area that the car was coming from?
Yes.
What did you do?
I instantly tried to find my son.
How old is your son?
He's 10 now.
9 at the time of the parade?
Yes.
To be on the
Where was
9U
he when
team.
you last saw him before looking to your back when you heard the commotion?
He was on the left side of the truck.
And did you see him when you looked back?
No.
Then what happened?
I was struck by the vehicle.
Where did the vehicle strike you?
I don't remember.
Did you receive injuries as a result of the vehicle striking you?
Yes.
And what were those injuries?
I couldn't walk. I was in the hospital. I had muscle contusions. I had bone bruises.
Ouch. Those hurt.
Did the vehicle, when it struck you or after it struck you, did the vehicle continue on with its path of travel down the parade route?
Yes.
He observed it. It's not
And did
hearsay.
you see the path it took after striking you?
Yes.
Where did it go?
Forward.
Could you tell if it went straight ahead, swerved one way or the other way?
No.
Overruled. He may answer.
No.
When you were struck, do you recall if you were to the left of the Blazers truck or if you were still in the middle of the Blazers truck?
I was on the left.
Were you knocked to the ground?
Yes.
What do you recall after the truck went past as you're laying on the ground?
I just remember tires going by.
Going over you or just by you?
When I first recall it, it seemed like it was going over me. But I can't. Be honest with you, I don't know.
You'd know.
Then what did you next recall?
People coming over to me.
Did you see your son?
No.
Did you eventually meet up with your son while you were still on Main Street?
Yes.
Okay. And was he injured?
No.
I'm going to show you what's been previously received as State's Exhibit 11, and I'm going to ask that be published to the jury or for the jury.
Go ahead. You must be part of it, all of it, something else.
It would be probably the first 20 or so seconds.
Mhm.
The video is 2 minutes and 29 seconds.
The deputy behind
we'll
and to
start it
the
at 0.
left of
Go ahead.
Mr.
And
Brooks
so I'm just going to have it play, and then I'm going to
kind of looks like Howard Hamlin from Better Call Saul.
I'm going to stop it when it hits the relevant time frame that this witness can testify to.
Go ahead.
At least there's a vague resemblance.
Do you see yourself? It's been paused at 18 seconds. Do you see yourself in this still shot?
Yes.
Can you circle where you are? Oh, I'm sorry. It's a touch screen. I guess I need to add that part.
That is the pointer. He's not the
Okay.
first person to grab that, so we'll
Okay.
have Pete
Well-
take it and we'll bring it back to you.
Yeah, usually they don't like me to have the pointer. I tend to hit people with it. So that's probably why they best left it up there. And that's you marching the parade, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know, was the truck playing any music as the parade was? Did you guys have any sound coming from your area?
I do not remember.
Okay. Do you recall if you heard a horn honking after seeing the red SUV?
No.
You did not hear any horn honking?
No.
Next, I'm going to show you Exhibit 148, which has been previously admitted into evidence. I'd ask that it be published to the jury. And I would be playing the first 27 seconds of that video.
Go ahead.
And I'm just going to play it through the first time. And we can stop it here at 23 seconds. What did you see in that video, sir?
Being struck.
Okay. And that accurately depicts what.
Come on, internet. Come on.
148 again. And playing it, it looks like you're running towards something. And let me play it, and then
This
pause
witness
it
is
when I
very
see that
concise.
beginning.
I like that. Says what he needs to, nothing more.
Pause. Do you recall what you were running towards?
My son.
And that would have been where he was at that time of the parade?
Yes, on the left side.
Do you recall where Jackson and Tucker Sparks were at that time?
No.
I have nothing further? No, thank you.
And just for the record, you may have
Someone-
said this, but the last pause was at 16 seconds in.
Get that record.
All right, you may take the video down, please. All right, go ahead.
video.
All right, let me know when you need it. Go ahead, you may start your cross.
Can you pull that exhibit up again, 148?
Sure. You want it to the witness or published?
Published.
All right. How much of it do you want played before you ask a question?
The first, what was it, 22, 23 seconds?
All right. 23 is my notes indicate when the state first stopped it. All right, go ahead.
You pause it right there. Can you identify for the jury where you are in this video if you see yourself?
The record is paused at 15 seconds.
And for the record, I believe this is the video with the sound. It was, no, this one does not have sound. Okay, just want to make sure I had that accurate. All right, go ahead, Mr. Brooks.
You can unpause it. All right.
He didn't ask for the marking to be saved as a sub exhibit.
And that's paused at 21.
Yes, that would be correct. 21 seconds. Do you recall from just looking at the video, have you seen this video before today?
He's already answered that.
Just still shots of it, not the video itself.
So it'd be fair to say that this is only your second time seeing this video.
Yes.
He's testifying about what he saw at the parade.
Do you
The
you can
videos
take the video down? I'm sorry.
just to help. It's but
Do
you know,
you
let's
recall
play it
giving
over and over.
a
Brooks.
statement to
That helps.
Officer
Every time the
Copill?
jury sees it, they
I
hate
don't
you
remember the
more.
name of the officer.
Do you recall giving a statement to an officer?
An FBI agent. Yes.
So it's an FBI
Do you
crime,
recall if you
just not really. It's a state
you
crime. It's
gave
in
them a
state
summary
court.
of what you remember, if you actually wrote the statement yourself?
He gave a statement.
I don't think I wrote it.
He wouldn't know if the cops wrote a summary or as a statement. You can call the cop and ask.
Do you recall saying that you needed a walker to assist you in moving?
He said earlier he
Yes.
couldn't walk for a while. Bone bruises would do that.
Would it be fair to say that you're moving pretty good these days?
A year later,
Grounds.
relevance.
Sustained.
Would it be fair to say that you're walking pretty good as of now?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance. Asked and answered.
Sustained. Not relevant.
It doesn't count if he's not still injured.
Did you also remember stating that you don't remember much from the event?
I do not remember saying that.
And the
I mean, I wouldn't remember
I guess it
much
would be the summary
as far
of
as the
report
totality of the circumstances.
of
I'd
statement
vividly
that you gave
remember
to the
my
officer,
immediate surroundings.
which I have right here. It says that you stated that you don't remember much from the event, but made it clear that your primary concern was needing to know where your children were after being struck. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
That's what he's testified to over and over now. This guy's a
Do you
baseball coach.
recall?
I imagine he's
what you
wanting
did
to
after
use
being
Mr.
struck?
Brooks as the baseball tee
I could
right
not move.
now.
I was on the ground.
Do you recall how long before you were moved from your position?
Couple minutes.
Were you helped by someone, or
Yes, 2 people.
and where did they take you?
Into the joke shop.
And from there, did you receive any medical attention?
Yes.
Do you recall where that was?
Memorial Hospital.
You recall who took you to Memorial Hospital?
A squad car.
You remember the
It's almost
officer's
like
name?
you hit so many people, they didn't have enough ambulances. They had to
Do you
resort to
recall
squad
what date
cars.
you made the report to the officer, or the date that you were interviewed?
It
rather?
doesn't count if it wasn't the day of the incident.
Which time?
So there was more than one time.
Yes.
And if you don't say everything all at the first chance, it
Do
doesn't
you
count.
recall making or giving an interview rather on the 24th of November of 2021?
Yes.
3 days later,
Do you
that's an
recall
eternity.
what
That it
date the
doesn't
other
count.
report was taken?
The night of
Oh, so this one does
Do you
count.
remember by whom that night?
an FBI agent.
The FBI responded quick to this.
After being struck, you testified that you saw the vehicle kind of go up on the curb. Would that be fair to say?
That was his
Can you ask that
understanding.
again?
What did you see the vehicle do after it struck you?
After it struck me, I continued,
What did you see it do?
Not stop.
drove off.
Did you see it strike anyone at that point?
It struck him.
No.
Or were you able to get a look at the driver in any way?
No.
He was on the
A license plate
ground.
number in any way?
No.
He's sitting on the stand thinking of the
You
ways
testified for the jury
he
earlier
could
that you
tear
heard
him limb from limb.
screams from behind you before you were struck. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Did you see the vehicle approaching at that point? Did you turn to see if anything was approaching at that point, rather?
Yes.
He said,
About how far was the vehicle away from you at that time that you observed it?
close enough that he couldn't get out of the way.
20 yards.
You were able to make that assumption how?
I'm a coach and we go off yards a lot.
That makes sense.
People estimate distance all the time. It's
Would
not
it be
always
fair to
right.
say that that's relatively close?
Yes.
For what? Relatively close for what?
Close enough for you to see into the vehicle?
I did not see into the vehicle.
So it would be fair to say that at no time during the incident
He
you saw the
said,
driver.
he said already he did not
No, I did not.
see you. He can't identify you. He identified a red Ford Escape, though.
And just so I'm correct for the record, you said that you said that your children were not injured in the incident. Would that be fair to say?
Not physically.
Where else?
The witness answered it. His answer may stand. So the objection is overruled.
He said not physically injured, meaning they're traumatized. Mental injuries weren't counted in the charges, but he has thousands of victims. 76 charges, but thousands of victims.
And when
They're
you were treated at
traumatized. He's a
Memorial
monster.
Hospital,
He said,
did you receive any pain medications, Tylenol, ibuprofen, anything like that?
Yes.
Do you recall how long you had to be treated before you were discharged?
1 day.
In the days after the event, did you file any claim whatsoever?
Can you be more descriptive?
Did you file
seriously
a
hate
claim
him.
as an injured party?
Yes.
Do you remember who that was with?
No.
So would you consider yourself to be an injured party in this matter?
Yeah, he was injured.
Absolutely.
There's
So you
your
would consider
victim.
yourself to be a plaintiff? Grounds.
Sustained.
He's not the plaintiff. You
Move
know
all
who
those
the
grounds.
plaintiff is. It's
And under
a legal
906
matter
as well.
who the plaintiff is. It's not appropriate for him to testify who the plaintiff is.
Do you recall who called you to testify in this matter?
The DA?
Can you point out for the jury which DA?
No,
Do you see him in court?
no.
How does it matter which one?
Do you recall the name of the DA that
He's
referring
wasting
to?
time.
I gotta,
Objection as to relevance for this
Grounds.
hearing.
Sustained. He's already indicated that the district attorney's office issued the subpoena.
Well, actually, he said the DA, so that was pretty vague.
That's not
Sir,
vague.
did you mean the district attorney's office?
yes,
Next question, please.
Were you subpoenaed?
yes.
Do you recall the name on the subpoena?
Objection.
Grounds.
It's
Sustained.
irrelevant. How does any of this go to proving or disproving the charges or impacting his credibility? It's just a waste of time.
So to the best of your knowledge, you're not aware of any plaintiff in this matter?
Objection,
Grounds.
relevance.
Sustained.
Shut him down, Judge.
To the best of your knowledge, you have never seen the plaintiff. in
Shut
this
him
matter?
down.
Objection,
Grounds.
relevance.
Sustained.
Shut him down. You can do it, Judge. I believe in you.
Have you ever seen or read a complaint in this matter of any kind?
Shut him down.
Yes,
Would you state what that was for the record and for the jury?
I just saw the stuff in the news.
That's not a complaint.
Seeing
That's
stuff on the
news
news
coverage.
would amount to a complaint?
Sorry, I misheard your question.
He's not a
Yes,
lawyer. He's not
Have
prosecuting.
you read or seen
Why would he
a
see the
complaint in this
complaint?
matter?
No,
He doesn't know what the complaint is.
But it
Most
would be fair
people
to
don't
say,
know.
just based on your testimony, that you saw reporting on the incident in the news. Would that be fair to say?
yes,
Do you recall what you saw in the news?
Besides which,
just
there is no
information
complaint.
about the trial.
He was charged by
Did you
information.
see anything?
That's what the charging document is
Before
called.
the
It's an
recorded trial?
information,
No,
which to me is awkward, but
Would it
that's
be
what
fair
it's
to say
called.
that this,
It's not a complaint.
matter has been going on for quite some time?
A year
There were
almost.
a lot of reports in the news. Would that be fair to say?
Objection, relevance.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Ms.
She
Brooks,
said
unless we can tie it
relevance.
into relevance with this witness, I'm inclined to sustain
I'm
that
going
objection.
somewhere with it.
Then just ask the question, sir.
Have you yourself seen anything in the news before the scheduled trial in regards to this matter?
He's not a juror. It doesn't matter. He's
Can you
testified
state for
about
the
what
record and
he
for the jury what that
experienced, what
was?
he witnessed. He hasn't testified about what he saw on the news.
just information about the trial itself.
Did you at any time see any reports about the alleged defendant at any time?
You're not an alleged defendant. You are a
Under
defendant.
906.11, this is not a witness who identified the driver, so I'm not sure where the relevance is of this. We'll take it up outside the presence of the jury once you're concluded with your questions, and I'll determine if there needs to be more questioning of this witness. Next topic, please.
Good job, Judge. But doesn't this guy, the deputy, look like Howard Hamlin from Better Call Saul? Can't remember the actor's name, so I'll just go with the character's name.
You testified a few minutes earlier that you really don't remember much after being struck. Do you recall where you were after being struck?
On the ground, and
I
then
was
in the
on the
joke
ground.
shop, and then
And
the
about which
hospital
area? Was it by the Blazers truck,
was by
relatively
where
close
he
to
was
the
struck.
curb, or about what position?
Near the truck.
Near the Blazers truck.
Yes.
You didn't stop, so he wouldn't have been anywhere near you and your truck.
Did you see the vehicle strike anyone before it struck you?
No.
No further questions.
Finally.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. You may step down.
All right, 11:28 in Wisconsin. Do they call a witness?
Before he's excused, I'm just going to excuse the jury momentarily. We'll let you know when you can be brought back in. All rise for the jury, please.
I'm guessing it's lunchtime. I mean, the prosecution technically, I'm sure, could get through a direct examination before noon Wisconsin time, but I'm guessing it's lunchtime once they discuss this. Unless they have to bring this witness back in. I can't see how they possibly would, because once again, the witness didn't identify him. So asking him, did you see my identity on the news, is so far from relevant, and it doesn't help him one bit. It's asinine.
All right, thank you. Be seated. Mr. Brooks, I cut you off when you were asking questions about what this witness had seen on the news.
It's
I'll
not
give you an
relevant what he
opportunity
saw
to
on the
give me
news,
an offer of proof
unless
as
it
to why you
impacts
believe
his
that's
credibility.
relevant, and specifically as to this witness.
It's relevant because
Normally,
of
this would be a sidebar at the bench, but he can't go up to the bench.
how close he testified to being away from the vehicle. He testified to being 20 yards away from the vehicle, which is not
At a certain time,
super close,
when
but
he
it's not
first saw the
far
vehicle,
enough
he was
that you
20
wouldn't be
yards
able to
away.
see
He was
a driver or see
0
into the car.
away
So-
when you struck him.
Sir, so what questions
He said
would
he
you
couldn't
have
see
that
into
you
the
didn't
car.
already ask, and how does the news reports relate to that?
Maybe he may have seen the alleged defendant on the news, and maybe that may jog his memory back to if he
So,
seen
so
the
you
driver.
want him to
But he
identify you?
testified he didn't.
He
see the
testified he
driver.
couldn't
So
identify
He
you.
I'm
also
not really-
testified to never making the comment that he didn't remember the event, but it's clearly in his summary and in his report that he said that. So it's conflicting. His report
That has
is
nothing to
conflicting
do
what
with
he's
him watching the
testifying. So I was
news
trying
to
to get at the
identify you.
credibility of it. That was my whole aim.
What does the news
He
reports
said he
have
didn't
to
have
do
a
with
great
that, sir?
memory about the whole thing.
The news reports are relevant just by the sheer amount of reporting that
He
that
thinks
they've
it's the
been
Perry
this has been
Mason
going on
moment,
for a year.
Darlene.
That assumes facts, not an evidence,
This is
sir.
ridiculous.
So this witness did not identify you during this trial. This witness testified as to his observations regarding the date in question.
He identified the truck.
injuries,
He
and
didn't identify
other things
you.
surrounding what he saw
Him
and
seeing
heard,
you
and
on
what
the
he didn't
news
see and
does
hear.
nothing.
So the news reports don't have any bearing on his credibility. The points that you bring up are arguments that you may make if you choose during your closing arguments.
Once again, the judge is
but
making a full
the
record.
questions you were
She has
asking
been
don't
amazing.
Further that
A little too lenient.
theory. So that's why I cut you off, because there was not anything that you were connecting by way of relevance.
With all due respect, Your Honor, a lot of the questions I ask are
No, they're not.
objected to. It seems like I can't even get to the
It's
questions
because they're
need to be
objectionable.
Sir, many of your questions go to these sovereign ideas that are frivolous arguments about the plaintiff and all of that.
Exactly.
We give you a little bit of leeway. I give you a little bit of leeway on it. But to ask about a claim, because frankly, it's a vague question.
Judge,
and
you are
many of
answering this
these,
perfectly.
Victims may in fact have made a claim with crime victim compensation.
Every
and so
sovereign
I think that's
citizen needs to
potentially
hear this.
relevant. But you may be asking it for a different purpose. I'm allowing it probably for a different purpose than you're anticipating. But the questions about the state and the plaintiff, other than when you talk about and you ask questions about who subpoenaed them, have they reviewed anything in preparation for their testimony, those are all fair game. But other questions are not. And that's why there's an objection. And that's why I rule the way that I do. So
It's just
ask
not
relevant
fair that you
questions, they'll be
sustain their
answered.
objections and
So
not
I don't see any
mine.
need for this witness to be brought back in. I don't believe that witness was on Mr. Brooks's list. So that witness is excused. Who's the next witness?
With all respect, on the record, Your Honor.
I've asked a
She's
question of the
ruled.
state. Let them answer, please.
Yeah,
Mr. Brooks, let
She's
them
ruled.
answer. Hold on.
So the next witness that we had intended on calling is Detective Mike Carpenter with the Waukesha Police Department.
So
who
he
would
might
provide
be
testimony
a
about
little
his
longer.
conducting the speed analysis of the vehicle. I don't expect that we'd be able to get through direct. Well, we might be able to get through direct.
I'd
But,
like to
it's
at
lunchtime.
least have him start. I want to
Oh.
go closer to the lunch hour
I'm
today.
surprised.
The other issue is that we thought we were going to be breaking for lunch, so he's not in the building right now. We have another witness who is ready, who we could call out of order, but that would be moving into a new topic, a new group along the parade route.
They're trying to go
So
in cluster
fine with whatever
groups.
the court wants to do.
I'd like to keep going, so I'll defer to you on which witness to call.
It's easier on the jury if they have a
Last court,
consistent
maybe I did.
narrative.
Jeff Rogers, I know he has remained in the courtroom. He is a victim. Is he excused from his subpoena? He was not an individual who we were provided a subpoena for by Mr. Brooks.
He's excused.
Thank you.
All right, we'll bring the jury back out and you may call. Quickly, Mr. Brooks.
You made reference to questions I asked and being, you said something to the effect of
It's sovereign
things. I don't
citizen
understand what you mean by that.
nonsense. You
I
yourself
have
said
no
you're a sovereign citizen.
Anticipation on your rulings. I'm not trying to sit here and I got enough work to do on the fly.
Well,
I'm
maybe
definitely
you've
not
got
trying
enough
sit
work to
here
do.
and
You
trying
should
to
stop with the
anticipate
sovereign
what will be
citizen
objected
nonsense
to,
and
what
focus
will
on a
be ruled
legitimate
on
defense.
anyway. I'm
This has
merely just.
she's not going to change her ruling
It was
on
understood
proper
that this would be a whole
objections
new thing for
just
me to do.
because you think it's
I
unfair.
apologize if I'm not as polished as I should be working on 3 days time before a trial.
That's your
You
fault.
see all the work that I haven't even gone
That's
through.
your
Mr.
fault.
Brooks, the jury's coming back in.
Rise.
For the record, I don't consent to that name and I don't
Who cares?
consent to the arguments that
You don't have to
prosecution
consent
made.
to
They're all
anything.
relevant questions as the jury deserves
Mr.
to
Brooks,
know.
please.
The jury deserves to know who the plaintiff is in this matter. I think it's fair to them if they're to make an informed and intelligent
Irrelevant.
decision, they should know
It
who the
is
plaintiff
irrelevant. The judge has ruled it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter
So
that
your
you
objections
think
noted for the record.
she's wrong.
Will legal finding of fact.
Stop.
Ruling, Your Honor.
She ruled.
Or is that a judicial determination, Your Honor?
Jesus.
Thank you, everyone.
Stop.
Please be seated.
The jury's there.
All right, the state may call its next witness, please.
The state calls Alyssa Gajewski.
That's a
Alright.
good name.
Good morning. If you would please make your
Gajewski.
way to the witness stand, which is on my right It is up a riser. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand and my clerk Teresa will swear you in.
Is he gonna come back from lunch with tears again?
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. Thank you, ma'am. Please have a seat. First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and then spell each.
Alyssa Gajewski, ALYSSA, GAJEWSKI.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Ms. Gajewski, how old are you?
23.
Do you have any familiarity with a group called the Extreme Dance Group?
Yes.
How do you know that group?
I used to coach there
How long were you a coach for the Extreme Dance Group?
about 4 years.
Can you tell us the time frame where that
Most
took
of
place?
this dance group was children,
So probably around 2018
from
to
young children up
early
through teens.
2022.
Where's that dance group headquartered? Where do you hold your practices?
It was it's 404 Travis Lane. I don't know Waukesha, so I don't know what road it's on.
It was in
Okay,
Waukesha.
but it's in Waukesha?
Yes.
All right. And in general, what cities or municipalities did the dancers come from?
Waukesha.
What were the approximate age ranges of the girls that you instructed at Extreme?
Just myself.
The girls who were dancers, how old were they?
So we started at Itty Bitty, which was about 2-ish, and then my team was the oldest, so we went up to 8th grade.
Oh, so
What do you call your team?
So my team was called the elite team,
that's
And what's the
13,
approximate age range of those
14-year-olds.
girls?
6 to 8, 8th grade,
And you mentioned Itty Bitty was about 2, right?
about 2 to 3.
Are there any
would
groups
say.
between those?
Yeah, so it's Itty Bitty, and then the tiny group, and then the mini group, and then the juniors, and then the elite.
And it's a continuum of age from Itty Bitty all the way up to the elite?
Yes.
I
So
want to
2 to
direct your attention
14,
to
roughly.
Sunday afternoon, November 21st of 2021. Was your group, the Extreme Dance Group, marching in the Waukesha Christmas Parade that day?
Yes.
And were you present with the group?
Yes.
Were there any other instructors or coaches there?
Yeah, there was just one other,
And who was that?
Jamie Sutton.
Do you remember approximately how many from your dance group were present?
I had about 12. Jamie might have had around 10. Minis was around 4, maybe. Tinies 4, and itty bitties, I'm not sure because they were just in like strollers and stuff with their parents.
When you marched in the parade,
She's
were you in a
struggling.
specific formation?
This is hard on her.
Yes, we were.
And how were the different age groups organized in that formation?
So at the front, it would start oldest and then it would go to youngest. So it would be elite, juniors, minis, tiny, and then the itty bitties with their parents.
Was there a vehicle or a float associated with your group in the parade?
Yeah, there was a truck.
What kind of truck?
It was,
Pickup truck?
yes, yeah.
What's the objection? Her answer may stand. I'll instruct the state to avoid leading questions.
About how many times did you make it through your routine during that parade?
I don't recall.
Was there a certain point when your dancers stopped dancing?
It's not
You
irrelevant.
may answer.
They stopped dancing
Yeah,
when you
they did stop
ran
dancing.
them over.
Why?
Because there was a car that drove through.
This is heartbreaking.
There's cleaners right there.
Thank
There's
you.
some up there. There's also water. You might open one of those.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
She obviously loves her students. This is heartbreaking. And he's going to abuse her.
Ms. Kajewski, we're going to put up on the screen for you Exhibit 15. And with the court's permission, this has been received already. I'd ask to publish to the jury as well.
Permission granted.
But she's going to be a devastating witness for his case, for his defense. The
You see the screen
jury
in front of you?
is going to eat up her
Do you see a
tears.
green box with names in it with the label Waukesha Extreme Dance underneath?
Yes.
Do you recognize the names in that green box?
Yes.
You see a black line connecting that green box to a yellow star?
Yes.
Can we scroll down a little bit? Do you recognize the neighborhood in this map?
Kinda. It's downtown.
Downtown Waukesha?
Yeah.
The yellow star that's connected to the Waukesha Extreme Dance names, is that
I think I see
an
11
approximate area where
names on there.
you described the car hitting the girls?
Yeah, right before the 5 points.
There might be one off screen
can
though,
take that
so
down.
there's 11 or 12 dancers he hits. They're all in green though, that no fatalities.
I'm now going to ask that we project onto the screen for the witness only exhibit number 33. Let me know when you see the screen in front of you.
I see it.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to just take as much time as you need, read all of those names, and then describe for me what we're looking at.
It's the formation that the girls were in.
On the day of the parade?
Yes.
And does that accurately represent where each of those girls were in formation?
Yes.
And you've reviewed a diagram similar to this before your testimony, right?
Yes.
I would move exhibit 33 into evidence and ask for permission to publish.
Before I allow that, if you could ask her about the non-labeled boxes.
Sure. You can see that there are some boxes on this diagram that don't have names in them. Is that right?
Correct.
What do those boxes represent?
Who wasn't injured?
So, but those are people? Those are
Oh, yes.
members of the dance group?
Yes.
But to your knowledge,
Got to lay a full
a
foundation
box
to
without a
get
name is
the
a person
exhibit
who wasn't hit.
Yes.
admitted.
Okay. I'll renew my request at this point.
Objection.
Relevancy.
How is it legal to instruct the prosecution to ask a question that they should already know to ask?
She
Your
told them they
objection is
hadn't
noted.
laid a
It's
sufficient
overruled.
foundation.
Exhibit 33 is received and permission to publish is granted.
I mean, how is it legal that she's given you all the help and hints that she's given?
Okay, can you, Ms. Kajewski, can you explain for us what the
She
colors
told
mean
you, she
in this
told you to the
exhibit?
same standard as the prosecution.
So they're each different team. So the yellow is the elite team, the green is the junior team, and the blue is the mini team. And there is 2 teams behind that, but they didn't have a formation. And that's why only these 3 are on here.
Okay. You testified earlier that you were marching in order
I
of
count
age,
25.
so the elites were
That's
in the front
half
of the
the
group,
team
right?
that he hit.
Yes.
So the parade route, if we were moving forward, it would be the bottom of this page. Is that right?
Yeah.
Just in time for lunch, almost
Can
static.
we project for the witness only exhibit number 32, please?
Go ahead.
But welcome to the present.
Let me know when you see something on your screen.
I see it.
Okay, we're going to play just a few seconds of this to see if you recognize it.
Has your opinion of Mr. Brooks improved at double speed?
Okay, we'll pause there. You played 19 seconds. Do you recognize this video?
Not this video.
Okay.
Because at
do you
normal
recognize the
speed, I'm
truck
ready to
Yeah.
pull
at
out
this
his
point that you stopped
toenails
at?
Yep.
At
one
19
by
seconds?
one.
Yeah,
What's the truck?
that's the truck that we had for Extreme.
During the Christmas parade?
Yes.
Did you recognize
And then
the
string
people
him up and flog him
in
with
front of the
wet
truck holding the
celery.
banner?
Objection. Witness stated she doesn't recognize the video. How is it permitted?
Your objection's noted, it's overruled. She may answer the
It's a
question.
representation of what she saw that day.
Could you say the question again?
Did you recognize the two people holding the banner in front of the truck?
Yes.
Were they affiliated with your group?
Yes.
Let's play a few more seconds just for the witness.
I mean, I probably would have objected to as the
Pause there.
defense, but I
Pause
would
at
have known it
27
was coming
seconds. Did you
in.
recognize the people coming into the screen from the left?
Yes.
Who are they?
Our dancers.
This is hard.
Does this video
Hey.
appear to be an accurate depiction of your group along the parade route during the Waukesha Christmas parade?
Yeah.
You may answer.
Yes.
I mean, she's crying,
I move to
but she's
submit exhibit
she's
number
showing
32 and ask-
superhuman strength.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Did you sustain that objection?
No, she said she
Did
could
you want-
answer.
Which objection?
That I just objected to?
What were your
Who's overruled?
grounds?
Are you making that decision now?
What were your
There's been a
grounds? What?
Request by the state to receive Exhibit 32, Mr. Burke.
I objected.
All right, then your
And-
objection's noted. It's overruled.
On what grounds,
Exhibit,
Your Honor?
Exhibit 32.
What grounds
is
did you
received.
object? She doesn't have to
Foundation
give her
has been
grounds.
laid, and permission to publish is granted.
On what grounds, Your Honor?
The record speaks for itself.
On
Stop.
what grounds, Your Honor?
Stop.
You may play.
There's no audio with this video. We're gonna play from the beginning.
Oh yeah, roll your eyes. That'll help you.
How long is the video for the record?
It's 1 minute and 23 seconds.
Thank you.
His incessant arguing is not helping him with the jury. He's coming across as petulant. She's coming across as a superhero. I absolutely love her. She's amazing.
Pause, please. We've paused at the 35.
Her tears are
second mark.
human.
Ms.
She-
Kajewski, do you remember what you were wearing on your head, if anything at all, that day?
Yeah, I had a bright red hat on.
Do you see yourself in this at the 35-second mark of this video?
Yes.
Can you? That's a touch screen in front of you. Can
And
you
looking
click
at
and
her
circle yourself?
when she said she's a dance coach, I was not surprised one bit.
Okay.
She looks
We
like
can
a
clear that, please,
dancer.
Madam Clerk. And we'll resume at the 35-second mark.
It's completely irrelevant, but she is gorgeous. From what I can see, inside and out, absolutely gorgeous. She's lovely. Someone needs to send her chocolates and flowers when she's done with this. Once the case is over. Enough chocolates to share with her dancers. Oh, that. She just saw the
We can
car
take that
plow
down now.
through them.
Thank you.
That
So, Ms. Kajewski, let me just clarify. What did we see at the end of that video?
Um,
You can take some time.
we didn't see it on
Hard
screen,
ones.
but you
Uh,
could tell the
pretty much.
minute, the
Great.
second she saw the impact.
Is that the same vehicle that you remember seeing that day?
yes.
That was a
Do you
visceral
recall where you were
reaction.
standing at the point that the vehicle started to go through your girls in relation to the rest of the group?
Yeah, in relation to the rest of the group, I was on the side that was with all the names, but I don't remember like what stores I was by.
If you were standing in the middle of your group, were you on the left side or the right side?
It's not
Which way
leading.
are you looking?
If you're walking down the parade route.
I'm looking towards the truck.
Yep.
I would be on the left side.
And you were towards the front
Yes.
by the elite girls.
This is all
Yes.
foundational.
I'm now going to ask that we put up for the witness only exhibit number 34.
I feel so bad for her.
And before we get into questions about this exhibit, I'll go back and ask you about the video we just looked at, exhibit 32. After having watched that video just now in court,
She's going to have to name every
does it
dancer that
appear as
was
though
hit.
that diagram
how they
with the
were
names that we
injured.
looked at, exhibit 33, does it appear as though that diagram was an accurate depiction of where the named girls were positioned at the
Because
time
they
the
don't want the
SUV
children
came into the group?
dancers.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what's the objection?
Hearsay.
It's not hearsay.
Overruled.
Read what
No.
hearsay is over lunch.
Yes.
Believe the end. Okay. So now we'll put up exhibit 34 for the witness, please.
I mean, watch some more Law and Order.
We're just going to play.
There might
few
be a
seconds to
description
see
of
if you
hearsay in
recognize
there.
this. Let's do a few more seconds. Okay. Do you recognize this video?
Not the video, but
The contents of the video.
Do you recognize images from the video?
it's
It's not hearsay. He's
Continue answering.
setting the foundation.
I turned it off for the witness.
Oh.
Till they can finish.
okay.
Okay. I think we've got the rotation figured out
Okay.
here. We're going to play 5 or 10 seconds again for you just to see if you recognize the video. Okay. Now, do you recognize the video?
Yeah.
What does it show?
The car going through and someone
Is
flying.
that an accurate depiction of the scene as you saw it that day?
Mhm.
And now they have to show the whole video
She didn't recognize the video.
for the jury.
Mischaracterizes her testimony. Your objection's overruled. It is not hearsay. You may answer. And if you did answer, you can just repeat
I
it.
mean,
Could you?
Is that video an accurate depiction of the scene as you saw it unfold that day?
Yes.
you already
Your answer must
objected.
stand. Thank you.
What was the answer?
Yes.
You already objected. The
Move
objection
exhibit
was
34 into
overruled.
Evidence and request permission to publish.
Exhibit 34 is received permission to publish.
This is a 50-second clip. We're not going to play the whole thing. We're going to play from the beginning to about 12 seconds. We're going to turn the audio on.
There seemed to be a little jump there. I think that one was court TV and not my internet. Oh no, sound. She can't watch it.
We've paused at 12 seconds. I'm going to ask that we go back to the beginning. Slow it down to 30% speed.
This is just heartbreaking. Even without seeing the video ourselves, that watching
Turn the audio
watching
off.
the witness
We're going to watch that save 12 seconds.
is
again.
heartbreaking. Remember, when
Pause.
sovereign citizens ask, show me
I'm
the
gonna ask Ms.
victim.
Gussie to go frame by frame. We paused at 1 second, by the way. Next frame. Next frame. One more. There. We're at a frame at 2 seconds. There's a figure on the bottom on the left side of the screen.
She has to
appears to be wearing
identify
black
the
with long hair.
dancer.
You recognize that person?
Yes.
You can't even see any features
Mr.
in
Brooks,
there.
that's argumentative. Your objection's noted. It's overruled. You may answer.
It's not hearsay.
You may answer.
She can identify.
You may answer.
Stop.
Who is that person we're looking at?
Jesselyn.
Can you use the touchscreen in front of you and circle that picture? Circle Jesselyn, please. I'd ask to save the annotation as Exhibit 34A and to move it into evidence.
The annotation has been saved. Exhibit 34A is received.
Ms. Kajewski, when you say Jesselyn, are you
Jesselyn,
referring
I
to
haven't seen you
Jesselyn
in here.
Flores?
My heart breaks
Yes.
for you.
She was a member of your dance group?
Yeah, she was on the junior team.
I know you won't see this, Jesselyn, but my heart breaks.
We can take that down. I'm going to ask that we play Exhibit 35 just for the witness.
I hope you fully recovered. And to all your dance teammates.
And this is just 8 seconds long, so we'll play the whole thing to see if you recognize it, okay?
Okay.
Do you recognize that video?
Yes.
What does it show?
The car going through.
Through your dance group?
Yes.
Is that an accurate video depicting the events that day?
Yes.
Move Exhibit 35 into evidence and request
Objection.
permission to publish.
Exhibit 35.
I mean,
Received permission to publish. Granted, your objection is noted for the record.
Again, this is 8
notice he
seconds
never
long.
gives
We're gonna
his
turn the
grounds.
audio
He
on
just
to this
objects.
video.
Unless it's hearsay or relevance.
Is the video, who even took the video? Is it resident? Is it relevant?
Sir, it's not a objection, it's a statement.
And it's
You can ask
argumentative.
questions later.
Witness that too.
Go ahead.
So Judge, before we begin, I have to step in here and request that Mr. Brooks be instructed to stop making comments under his breath. This witness is very clearly having an emotional and difficult time testifying, and she doesn't need to hear that.
Objection, she can't hear anything I'm saying.
Mr. Brooks, the mics are very good. in
If the
this courtroom,
prosecution
so
hears
please
you under your
refrain.
breath, she
Alright, keep
can't.
going.
Stop.
So we will begin.
The
at
jury hears it
beginning of this
too.
video. We'll play the whole thing with audio.
You're coming across as heartless, which we already know you are.
Just want to say one thing, to the extent that there are comments on this video, those comments are not being offered. I would instruct the jury to disregard those in terms of the evidence. It's the video that's important.
For the courtroom, actually. Exhibit 33, the diagram again.
I feel bad that
We'd ask to publish for the jury.
a lunch break might help her. It is noon in Wisconsin.
Can we zoom in on the top of the screen?
A lunch break might help her, but it might be worse having to
So, Ms. Kajewski, I'd like to work our way through this.
testify
Name by name.
in 2
based
sessions.
on your recollection of what you saw during the parade that day, okay?
It's like a
So
Band-Aid.
let's start with the
Rip
first
it
person
off.
on the top right, Vivian Urell. You knew Vivian Urell before November 21st, right?
Yes.
And do you recall seeing her either while the SUV was driving through or after?
Objection, hearsay.
It's not.
Overruled.
It's what she
I
saw.
saw her after, not during, because I was in the front.
Can you describe the circumstances when you saw her after?
Objection, hearsay.
It's
Mr. Brooks, I'm going to direct your attention to review section 908.01. You have a statute book. Please do that. It's not hearsay.
Thank you, Judge.
Go
Go ahead.
He needs to
Could you
read
repeat
what
the question?
hearsay is.
Can you describe the circumstances of how you saw her and where afterwards?
Yeah, she was on the opposite side
I
of the road.
realize it's a difficult rule,
Just like in a fetal position.
but he's not even getting the most basic
Did you have any interaction with her?
hearsay
Yeah, I
objection
did.
right, ignoring
I went in a squad
all
car
of
with
the
her to
exceptions.
the hospital.
Which hospital?
I think it's called Waukesha Memorial.
Here in Waukesha?
Yep.
Okay. And did you observe
Once
any
again,
injuries to her?
going
Yeah,
to the
she,
hospital in a squad car,
had
not an
road
ambulance.
rash on her chin.
They had to triage the victims
I
on
next want to
scene.
ask you about Mackenzie Hollingsworth.
It was an
First, top
overwhelming
right green
response.
square there. Did you see her as the SUV was coming through?
I didn't see her as the SUV.
Once again,
I
she
saw
was
her at the
behind her.
hospital.
Waukesha Memorial?
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe what she looked like?
Sorry, was that a yes? You just said,
Oh.
was that a yes?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. That's okay.
Can't have
Can you
any
describe-
ambiguity.
How she looked at the hospital?
Yeah, she was laying on the ground, and her mom was on her
Laying
left
on
side
the
of
ground
her,
at the hospital.
and I was on her right, and I was holding her hand, trying to get her to squeeze my hand so she could like stay awake. But she was going in and out of consciousness. She was asleep, and then she would wake up sobbing, and it would just repeat.
I next want to ask you about Alice Darrell. So the next green square down on that diagram. Did you see her as the SUV drove through?
I didn't see like her get hit because it was just a blur, but I saw her body on the ground right after, and she's the one that the first person I saw.
And did you have any interaction with her after the fact?
Yeah, I picked her up as soon as her body was right in front of me. I just picked her up because I didn't know what was about to happen.
What did you think had happened at that point?
I didn't know. I didn't know if there was going to be just a bunch of cars. So I just wanted to get her out of the way.
You've already testified about Jesselyn Torres. The Jesselyn Torres who's named in a green square there, is that the same Jesselyn Torres that you referenced when we watched Exhibit 34?
Yes.
Moving down the diagram, I'll ask you about Yuretsi Becerra Montes. You recognize that name?
Yes.
Did you see Yuretsi as the SUV came through the group?
I saw her after,
Where did you see her?
behind the truck on the ground.
Which truck?
The same truck that was driving in front of all the girls.
That black
The
pickup
support
truck?
truck.
How close to the truck was she?
At the tailgate.
Was anybody else with her?
Yeah, her, I remember seeing her dad and her sister.
How did she appear to you in that moment? Health-wise?
Just in shock.
Moving down the list to Julia Schlickow, excuse me. Did you see Julia as the SUV was driving through the group?
I didn't see her as the SUV came through. I saw her at the hospital.
At Waukesha Memorial?
Yes.
How did she appear to you when you saw her at Waukesha Memorial?
She wasn't good.
Can you take a little bit of time and then tell us in a little bit more detail?
I was with Kenzie at the time, and at Waukesha Memorial, there's a glass like wall window, and I saw Julia in a wheelchair by herself with like nurses around her, and she was kind of slunched over. She was in and out of consciousness as well, and so I ran over to her and told them her name, and they they rushed her in the back because she was not doing well. And then when we got to the back, she started seizing and vomiting.
And you saw this while you were with Kenzie, as you said?
I saw Julia when I was with Kenzie, and then I left and went with Julia, and then we went in the back to a room, and that's when she started seizing and puking.
Just so we can keep the name straight, who's Kenzie?
Mackenzie Hollingsworth.
And moving further down the diagram towards the front, Sam Coelho. You
Mhm.
recognize that name?
Yes.
Did you see Sam as the SUV went through the group?
I didn't see her with the SUV.
What about afterwards?
I didn't see her at the hospital either that night.
Do you remember providing a written statement with Detective Mandy Schwartz from the Waukesha Sheriff's Department shortly after this incident?
Yes.
I would ask that we project that statement for the witness only.
Go ahead.
We can go down to page 4, please.
I'd
So
absolutely
for
approve
clarification,
of my niece
what would be
taking
next
dance
number?
lessons from this teacher if there weren't 1,400 miles separating us.
149, please.
Right, would be marked.
She has such a
Should
big heart.
149.
Ms. Kaczewski, do you see the screen in front of you?
Yes.
Let's scroll down a little further. All right, just to yourself silently, I'd like you to read from where it says saw another to the words so fast. Just read that silently. Let me know when you're done.
Mhm. I'm done.
Okay. Do you remember writing that or
She comes across
approving
as
that written
such a
statement when you
sweet
met with
person.
Detective Schwartz?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember now?
Hold on, you take that. We'll take that down.
Such a
Yeah,
huge
we can
heart.
take that down, please. Sorry. Do you remember now talking about what happened to Sam?
I didn't see Sam. I only saw her dad.
Okay. And you didn't see her in the hospital afterwards?
Not that night. No.
Did you see her in the days following this incident?
It's not irrelevant.
Overruled.
Um,
Answer.
yeah, as soon as the day she was able to have a visitor, I was there.
When you say visitor, what do you mean? Where was she?
It's
Overruled.
She was
stop.
at Children's.
Hospital.
Children's Hospital?
Yeah.
Do you know why she was there?
She was run over.
They moved her there just due to her injuries.
And you know she was injured as a result of what?
Overruled. She may answer as to what her knowledge of the injuries were.
Yeah, she was there because she was struck.
By a red
Exhibit 33
SUV.
back up for the jury and the witness, please.
Sorry, 30?
33, please, the
33, go
diagram.
ahead.
As hard as it is for her, it has impact saying what were her injuries? What was the extent of her injuries?
So Ms. Kaczewski, there's 2 remaining names there on the diagram, Isabella Bartelt and Maddie Hollingsworth. Did you see either of them as the SUV went through the group?
I did not.
Did you see either of them in the immediate aftermath?
I did not.
Based on their position in that diagram in your review of the video evidence here in court, how would you describe their position in relation to the red SUV that went through the group?
If you're looking at the SUV, they were just to the left of it.
Okay. Do you know whether they were actually struck by the SUV?
I do not.
But based on their positioning, they would have been how close to the SUV in your best estimate?
Just a couple feet.
You're not able to give an accurate estimate about how fast the SUV was traveling at that point, is that right?
I could.
Okay. Well, please, if you think you can, please tell us how fast do you think it was traveling?
It's not. It's her
I thought
observation.
around
Stop it.
55.
Oh wow,
The black truck.
that's the highest we've heard.
was part of your
We've heard
group, right?
a range from 20 to 40,
That was about
but
the
now
approximate speed of the rest of
55.
the parade.
Yeah.
And was the red SUV traveling faster than the black truck?
Yes.
The black truck traveling about 1 or 1.5 miles an hour, walking speed. That's the face of a prosecutor who knows they're winning.
All right, then we'll break for lunch. We'll continue with cross-examination after the lunch hour. Please rise for the jury.
That was difficult. And her cross-examination is going to want me to have him muzzled. I assume once the jury's out of the room, she'll inform us how long the lunch break will be. But while we're waiting on that, do all the YouTubey things, like, subscribe, bribe your friends
You can step down if you would like.
to do the same,
It's up to
twist
you.
their arms.
Mr. Brooks, I referenced this earlier, but you have a statute book, section
Read.
908.01,
Hearsay.
is the start of the statutes that deal with hearsay. It provides a
At
definition.
least read the basic
of
definition.
What it is, it goes
Out
through
of court
statements which are
statement.
not hearsay,
Used to
and it
prove
has a
the
whole
truth
host
of the matter asserted.
exceptions that are referenced in 908.
Is the federal rule. The Wisconsin rule is
So,
worded slightly differently.
I just direct your attention to that because many of your hearsay objections, they're not hearsay at all, sir.
That
And I hope you're not just saying them
they're so
just
far
to
outside of
pose an objection.
what hearsay is that
But I think it would be very helpful if you were to familiarize yourself with that.
For the record, Your Honor, how do I know that the prosecution isn't objecting to anything based on the same assumptions?
I don't
because they
understand
know
what
what
you're
hearsay
saying.
is.
A lot
You
of
have that
times.
statute
This
book,
this is
so
a
if
you
you'd like to
problem.
read the
You're the
hearsay
one
statute,
making frivolous
start with
hearsay arguments. The judge
8,
has called you out
01,
for it, not the
continue with
prosecution.
908,
It's
02, the
completely
rule
irrelevant to your
908,
understanding
are all the
what the prosecution is
exceptions.
doing.
Continues with 90804. I realize you are not a lawyer, Mr. Brooks, but you still should have a good faith basis to make the
Exactly.
objection and then not argue with me when I rule on the objection.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. The state will give its one word or statement.
That's
if it's
what the
self-evident
grounds
to the
is.
court,
You
I
need
don't
to stop
the parties
with the
to even
grounds,
say much at
grounds.
all. But that's primarily why your objections based on hearsay. There was one I sustained because it was in fact calling for hearsay.
A
When
few
a
of
witness has
those were wrong.
knowledge-
No, they
no, a
weren't.
witness-
Stop
The
arguing.
witness is not asked to say what another person has said, assuming there's no exception that applies or it's just not hearsay under the rule, and they have otherwise personal knowledge about something, they can provide that answer. So I'm hoping that's helpful to you as you formulate your objections. Of course, I'll keep ruling on them. I just ask that when I rule on them,
You shut up.
you not interpose the same objection before the witness has answered. when I say it's overruled, person may answer, your objection stands. It's noted. It doesn't
But
need to
it's
be said again.
overruled.
I'm now informed. I don't understand how
That's a you problem.
someone can testify to things being told in the hospital. They're not a family member.
They're
or
not
parent or
testifying to
anything.
what
So
was
how would
said.
they know what injuries someone would have? How would that information be disclosed to someone without being a parent or a direct relative? That would be hearsay.
No, it's not.
Sir, again, people can testify based on personal knowledge. What's hearsay is when it comes into court and they say, so-and-so told me. If they saying, I was told, or again,
It's
I think you're confusing personal knowledge
I was
with
still at the parade,
hearsay.
but the
So,
doctor
you
told
can question
me
people
that she
on
has a broken
how
arm. But
they knew that information.
being at the
But you
hospital
do that at your peril, because if you open the
and
door for
learning
them
that
to tell
that
you
she
how
has a
they
broken
know,
arm, it's not hearsay.
then potentially hearsay is going to come in.
I mean,
So,
yeah, the
with
doctor
that,
had
I
to
just wanted
say
to give you
it's a
that
broken arm,
information.
but it's not
I can't
secondhand
obviously
knowledge.
further explain to you, sir, other than to say ignorance of the law is not something you can use as a valid kind of defense or.
Of course, that's
um,
why sovereign citizens
I
fire
keep
their
saying I don't
lawyers.
understand.
I don't.
You did this of your own free will. You waived your right to
But
an
he
attorney,
objects to
and
being
the
here,
ignorance that
so
you
it's
claim
not his free
is not
will.
valid at this point, sir.
I
So with
also
that,
altered that contract, Your Honor.
It's
You
not a
accepted the
contract.
in the way that I sent it back
It's
to you.
not
Now,
a
let's
sir,
be
we don't have a
fair.
contract together. The contract
do
was
not.
being
You're right.
misapplied in this circumstance. All right, we are in recess. I'll see everyone. Let's be back at 1:30. Thank you, everyone.
All right, that's an hour and 10 minutes. I'm going to go eat my lunch. I will be back in an hour and 5 minutes. Give a quick recap before we get going again. So, thanks for hanging out this morning. I'll see you guys in the afternoon. Have a good lunch.